Sportdev Series going again, testing another live session. We have our man in the building, my main man Michael Koro from the Always Footy podcast. Gave us a brilliant play-by-play through the entire World Cup. That stuff was good, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very
Yeah,
much. It was a
man. I
lot of
mean,
fun.
yeah. If anyone missed any of the games and they ended up listening to your podcast, they would get a very beautiful breakdown of what happened, how it happened, and I thought I was like, because you went into details, what strategy teams were using, who showed up, who didn't show up, why the team strategy didn't work, who had more effort. It went into details. It wasn't just like, oh well, here's what happened. No, it kind of went in beyond what we were regularly seeing just watching the games. And I watch all the games. I watch games like I said, I went to Nigeria and then I went to the UK. Most of the games I watched were in Nigeria. Then I came back and I watched I think the semifinal and final. I was in the UK.
Mm.
Yeah, man. So it was pretty good.
So you basically replicated my experience, at least a portion of it, in 2018 World Cup, because I went to Nigeria for the start of the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Watched all the group matches in
Yeah.
Nigeria because I was there for almost a month, and then went to the UK for a couple of days and caught like a couple of, I think it was either the second round or quarterfinal matches, while I was there. And yes, man, one thing I wanted to say is if for those of us who live in the diaspora outside of Nigeria, when you go back home and you watch these games, especially Nigerian matches live in these the beer parlors that show the games and whatnot, it's a different feeling, different experience, my brother. It's not the same as when we live here in North America and we go to bars with our friends or we're watching the games at home. It's a completely different, even inside of Europe. Like when I went to London, I went to a bar to watch I believe it was the quarterfinal match between Denmark and maybe Croatia. I don't remember honestly, but it was a game that went to penalty kicks, and just being inside the bar with people, just whether with written interest or not, but just fans of the game, real fans of the game, so to speak.
Real fans of the game.
Different experience, my brother. Complete. So I feel your joy and the energy and passion that you felt, just especially because England was in it all the way up to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And so if you were in the UK, there was energy in there and that in the whole country, because even that match against France, I think they were the better team that just ended up.
The Brits are interesting, man. I tell you what, they ride for their teams. Because when I was there, I mean, they were like, oh well, if this is happening, I was like, guys, come on, we watched that game. One team was a better team, but they would ride for their team even despite that, and talk about the different players, and you could tell. And I'm talking about even people that were immigrants to the UK. They were waving that UK flag proudly, and I thought that was interesting. But no, it was a good holiday with football. I went to Stamford Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that was fun. Yeah.
Which game did you see?
The Man City game.
Oh, what happened in that game? I don't even remember anymore.
It was 1-0. Riyad Mahrez scored.
It's a credible performance considering Chelsea struggles this season, which is, we can do a whole podcast just on that alone. Just watching.
No, it was
have failed.
Yeah. No, you end up having a lot of respect for Kevin De Bruyne. When you watch him live, you realize, like, we gra football in Africa, how people run and constantly running. They run themselves into the ground. This guy manages his energy so well. I can't, like, a lot of times you see him walking, and then as soon as Bernardo Silva gets the ball, like, he'll make certain runs, or as soon as Riyad Mahrez gets the ball, like, he knew where to go, and they would feed him, and as soon as the ball got to him, he knew where to put it. It was amazing. It was amazing to watch. I mean, City is a well-oiled machine. You have to give it a pep, man.
No, for sure. And again, it seems like you and I are just sort of experiencing similar things. So last year I went to 2 games. One was a Premier League match between Arsenal and Man United. and that was towards the end of the season. I think it was like in
Yeah.
April, mid-April, late April, if I remember, or early April, whatever it was. But towards the end of the season, where teams are starting to fight for those positions, and at the time, that match between Arsenal and Man U was a top four battle. Like basically whoever lost that game was going to be knocked out. Seemingly from the top four. And the thing that stands out to me in those kind of games is, for me, I came back just really having a much higher impression of Cristiano Ronaldo, having watched him live. Just seeing what you don't see behind the scenes when the cameras don't catch it, how he's motivating his teammates, the runs he's making, the runs he makes before the pass is even made, before the pass is made to him. So, yeah, I understand. And then I went to Manchester to go watch the semifinals of the Champions League match between Real Madrid and Man City. And that, to me, I don't think there was any higher quality match in club football last year, whether it's Champions League or leagues. And that game ended 4-3. But everything you just said about De Bruyne is very apt. He's a solid player, man. The level of intelligence is there. He sees passes before other players, even before the players can make the runs. The thing that's
100%.
interesting about City is that those players are all in sync. They play like their minds are on a string, and so they know where to be. The fullbacks know when to overlap. The supporting strikers know when to make those runs in the box. It's a thing of beauty to watch.
No, you realize, yeah, you're 100% right. You realize when you watch them that this game, it's really about team. It's about making sure you're doing the simple things the right way. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to have players that are looking for certain things to happen. Like, you just can't
Yes,
have the ball
yes,
and you're running and like you're just playing without a purpose. Like, and that's what I noticed watching. I mean, even Chelsea, kudos to them. I mean, they try to do it on certain occasions, but you could just see the difference in the quality of the way City was sinking compared to Chelsea. Was night and day.
Well, it's
Like,
not just quality alone, because there are plenty of teams of quality. It's also their well-drilled unit. This is Pep has a plan, a strategy. He's been at Man City for a long time, and that's kind of, if you're looking at Chelsea now, that's something that you're seeing, where they have a bunch of they've just brought in all these players in the transfer window. Granted, some of them are young players, so who knows what the deal really is. But now the pressure is on this manager. But what the manager? It doesn't matter what manager you put in that Chelsea squad. He's not going to make a miracle out of that. You're bringing a bunch
no,
of mishmash and trying to get them to be top four immediately. And that's
yeah,
not where they were at when he took over. So who knows if Graham Potter is the best manager for that job? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing's for sure. It takes time to develop good chemistry, man. It takes
no,
time.
100%. And that's the thing that you realize is like, speaking about that, we kind of went into, which is part of the reason why we're here, is transfer windows, right? I was just looking at Chelsea combined, they spent 600 million.
I think this
In
outlay was 280 million for this transfer window, but
and then the
270
last one,
million in the summer.
correct?
So
Yeah,
altogether, that's 550. And we're talking about, I believe it's pounds we're speaking of. So
pounds. Yeah, yeah,
that's a lot of money.
that's
That's
a
a
lot of
lot of
money.
money. Premier League in itself spent over £1 billion in transfers, and in fact, with Chelsea being by far the number one spending team in the transfer window, but even the La Liga president, whom sometimes I just never really. I think they're on a somehow I don't understand what their role is and some of the comments they make in terms of PR and publicity, but I guess they just want publicity. But he was complaining that the English league should be sanctioned because they're spoiling the game with all the transfers. Now, there might be some merit to that statement, because it just seems like some of these transfer fees, especially Chelsea in particular, man, some of these transfer fees are outrageous, man. It just seems like they have the money to just throw it out there. 70 million for this guy, 80 million for that guy.
Dude,
Today I just heard that
107 million for Enzo.
Enzo Fernandez, young player coming from Benfica, had
100.
a great World Cup. So again, the only thing is, are we paying him based on his World Cup performance? Because based on just 7 games, where he was excellent, obviously, we've seen that before, where a guy is excellent for 5-6 games and comes out to be a flop. I think who comes to mind immediately is a Colombian gentleman that had the great World Cup in 2014 and just never replicated that form, both for Real Madrid and even signed for Everton eventually. And I don't even know where he's at now. I don't think he's even in any top leagues anymore. His name escapes my mind, but the Colombian forward that played for Real Madrid. I'm sure I'll remember it eventually. But yeah, so again, but if you look at the signings, I would say for Chelsea, there's Fernandez is probably the highlight of the signings, but they actually made a bunch of shrewd moves. I do like the Modric move, just simply for the simple fact that they didn't allow him to go to Arsenal. So that one just seemed like it was a block in Arsenal from getting this guy, and we'll pay him anyway. But you see the strategy. They're signing these guys to very long-term contracts. And the reason for this is so they can skirt the financial fair play rules. Because by signing a multiple-year contract, they can break up the amounts of the yearly outlay of the salaries of these guys. So that way they fall under, they fall into the category of being fair in the fair play rules. Now, having said that, UEFA is now looking into trying to close that loophole and saying, okay, maybe that there's only so many years that you can spread out the life of a contract when you sign guys on transfers like these. So certainly there's going to be a reaction to this. Chelsea is doing something to sort of skirt the rules, but you can sort of see the strategy here. They want to get these guys young. It's almost a scattershot approach. Get them young, see who sticks, who doesn't stick. Maybe they can sell them for better or whatever the case may be. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, but that's what they're going to do. I mean, listen, we bought players for a lot of money with Timo Werner, a lot of different guys. I actually thought Timo came in and did fantastic in his first few games, and then he just went on that whole piece where he couldn't put the ball in the nets, and now he's not there anymore. And I think Enzo. I mean, I watched the game against Fulham today. He almost scored, but that pressure is going to be there, man, for the kind of money they paid for him. And, we got rid of Jorginho, and, Jorginho went to Arsenal. And so, you're in that situation now where there's going to be pressure for him to perform. And
most definitely.
The team, they're still Champions League. The team is ninth in the table, but it's just the way the money is being spent, especially with this new owner and the way he's just splashing out cash at Chelsea. It's, even Roman, for whatever you want to say, they spent money, but they spent good money. You know what I mean? I went back and I was watching a couple of their games from back in the day. Dude, Chelsea had Ballack, Iron Robin, Drogba, Essien, Joko, Lampard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're looking at it from the perspective of hindsight. So I really wouldn't. We can't judge any of these till 2, 3, 4 years down the road, quite frankly, right? Because Drogba was bought from France as
Marseille,
right? So no one knew who he was. Ballack was probably known, but a lot of the guys were marginal guys that became stars. So again, who knows if this is going to work? Certainly, if you're a Chelsea fan, you're happy you got an owner who everybody hated that he bought the team, but now all of a sudden everybody loves that he's spending money. So, but
I don't know. Bro, I was at Stamford Bridge. He doesn't have a lot of fans, man.
Oh, no. He's American, so he's not going to have a lot of fans. Just on the fact that he's American will be the first reason why they already think he doesn't know what he's doing. But then again, one could argue that he really doesn't know what he's doing if he's spending all this. But the truth of the matter is that it's not him spending this money. He's just the one making the money available. It's people, the directors of football, who are there to evaluate those players and say, okay, we want to buy him. Obviously, it's up to him to sign off because he's writing the checks. But, who knows?
I know, man. No, it's interesting. I mean, has there been any other ridiculous spending that you've seen?
I honestly haven't seen ridiculous. I think Chelsea skewed the field. Generally speaking, if you think about it, if over 1 billion was spent and Chelsea spent 280, so we were talking about at least a quarter of that money being spent by one team out of 20 teams in the Premier League. Right. But what I would like to focus on is how some teams did, who sort of looked good, who enhanced their chances, whatever the chances are. You have teams that are looking for top 4. Obviously, we have championship aspiration between Man City and Arsenal, with Man U giving a shout, but not really, nothing realistic. You have top 4, and then obviously if you add the other teams, Man U, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle United. I don't know if there's anyone else you want to throw into the mix, but those are the teams that you look at and challenge for top 4. In that group, I think Arsenal was in first place, and I think they did themselves a solid getting two. They wanted more. They obviously wanted Mudryk. Couldn't get him because Arsenal, Chelsea got him. because they wouldn't spend more, which okay
Correct.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But they got players that can play now,
Yeah.
that are established, and they're bringing them in as backups. So that makes to me, they enhance their squad in a solid manner. We're getting Leandro Trossard, so he can come in and fill in for Martinelli. Injuries are going to happen. So, you have somebody, and Trossard can play multiple positions. He can play a little bit in the midfield. He could play on the left wing. You bring in Jorginho from Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea wasn't really using him much anymore of late. He's a solid replacement for the Ghanaian guy, Pate. And Pate gets injured. That one's for sure. It's almost guaranteed that he's going to get injured, lose a couple of weeks on the sideline. So Jorginho's, or even if he doesn't get injured, give him some rest, because the games are going to come in thick as time goes. So I think Arsenal did very, very, very good bit of business.
Jorginho doesn't have the pace of Partey though. So
he doesn't need to have the pace of Partey.
Yeah.
Jorginho's game is not predicated on pace. Jorginho's game is predicated on moving that ball as quickly as possible. And guess what? That fits right into Arsenal's game plan. The Partey gives you, that's why Partey starts. It gives you that extra, right? A little bit. Even though I think his passing is not as crisp as I would like it to be, but he can shoot long range. His physicality is something that Arsenal clearly lacked. And when they got him last year, or maybe the year before on loan, and then he started last season. I can't remember exactly the timeline, but last year was his first full season with Arsenal. A huge difference when he was playing and when he got injured and was out.
Yeah.
In fact, Arsenal lost top four. One can even argue that as a result of Thomas Partey not being around to clean up for them and cover that back four. So getting somebody who can back him up, at least serviceably, is sort of a big deal.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. We got joined by my man Chris from Orlando, Florida. Chris.
Yeah. Yes. Chelsea for life. How you guys doing?
Chris, how are you?
I'm blessed, man. I'm very well. Sorry, I just got off work. I couldn't miss this. I wanted to hop in real quick,
No, man. Yeah, man. Chris, welcome to Sports Dev.
Thanks,
we just started doing a live series, so
nice.
This is new, and we have to get the word out. But it's fun, though. I mean, what do you think about the transfer window in January so far? The money that I'm a Chelsea fan like you, man. The money that these guys have spent. What are your thoughts about all that stuff?
Man, honestly speaking, I really can't call it, man, because I was a little thrown off because I thought UEFA rule is how many players are you supposed to buy? We're supposed to buy like 3 or 4 for doing the transfer window, right?
Yeah.
So there's no limit on how many you can buy. There's just a limit on spending, which the bill doesn't usually come into until the end of the season. So basically, what it is that whatever money you bring, you can't spend more than you bring in. Right. Although the numbers say 280 million, that's not 280 million this year. So what they did, if you look at all the contracts, right, and especially since you're a Chelsea fan, you would notice. And I like that jersey, by the way. It's a nice one.
Oh, thanks, man.
One of the things they'll tell you is that, and I was mentioning this right before he showed up, they're signing these guys to long-term deals. So let's just look at Modric. I don't know, Modric. Again, these numbers, let's just assume he got paid 120 million pounds. And they signed him to an 8-year deal contract. So now you break that up into 8 years. That's 15 million a year, if my math is correct. And when you do that, then that 15 million is what counts against the season for that guy's contract. You understand?
Okay.
So now, then you now add up all the incoming inlays. What you made from all your business, because they sold some players too, right? And some players are sent on loan and whatnot. Right. And then you determine that you must balance the books. So what Chelsea did was that's why they signed these guys to very long-term contracts, so they can balance the books. But UEFA now is looking at that loophole, and they're like, we might have to close that so that you can only sign them for maybe 4 years at a time. So whatever your transfer fee is, and we'll break that up. So I think this is probably the last we'll see of this type of Chelsea expenditure.
Absolutely. I was so worried because I like the terms. The length of their contract too was scary. See, guys are getting normal contract 2-3 years. This guy's getting 4 or 5 longer contracts, and it's scary. And I was like, this is weird, But
they're young. They're signing young guys, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and they're pretty. Yeah, it makes sense. If they have to balance the books, it makes sense. But back to your questions, Boma. For today, the transfer window is scary. I was mostly impressed. The Fonana guy, he did what he did. He put in a shift today. A little the time he came on.
He played 90 minutes and he almost scored.
Yes,
He's
he
a little
did.
rough around the edges, you can see, but you can see it in him. You can see the ability and that
Yes,
physicality. He just needs to learn how to tidy things up. But again, it takes time, man.
it takes
It
time.
was
Yeah,
very interesting though to me that Aubameyang not even on the match day squad. So
yeah. What happened? They like not even on the list. Nothing. I'm
Look,
like,
let me tell you, Chris. When I saw that, I was just talking about De Bruyne when I went to see the Chelsea game live against
right,
City at Stamford Bridge.
right,
There are players you watched in that game. You were like, he's good. Like he's good. Like, Aspilicueta, he played his heart out. Kovacic is a ball player when you watch him
right.
live. Yeah. You watch guys that you were like really impressed by. Aubameyang was
Yes,
horrendous.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
mean, we can't even say they don't give him passes. I counted 3 passes that they gave him that the Aubameyang I watched at Dortmund would have caught
Yeah,
that ball.
yeah,
He has,
man. It's sad.
yeah, he's lost so much pace.
It's
He's a
sad.
shadow of himself. He's not even close to being the same guy.
yeah, this
It's
is one of
sad.
those situations where you look at what's going on with him. You say village people have gotten to him. You
Village people,
understand?
my brother,
Because
my
I don't
brother,
know what's going on with
village,
that man. Ever since he left
village,
Arsenal, man, it's
village
just
people, village people did Gabon.
oh
Village
yeah,
people,
yeah, village people do everywhere now. There's
That's
nowhere,
crazy.
there's nowhere you would see village people. It's like,
His
bro.
demise,
if there's
his
village people in
demise
Nigeria, there's village people in Gabon for
the
sure.
guy has just fallen off. Even Arsenal fans, they were clowning us like
Man,
they sold us, but Barcelona sold us a lemon.
A
Man. This
lemon.
is crazy.
no, it's
Oh my
bad.
days.
He is
It's
north of
bad.
30. And one thing about players that rely on pace mainly is, obviously once they lose a little bit of that pace, they need to have something else to fall back on. And some of the issues that Arteta had with Aubameyang was lack of professionalism. So when you talk about lack of professionalism, some of it has to do with practice habits. Because,
Yes.
it wasn't just, it was the last straw. It wasn't like it was, oh, this happened and they kicked him out. There were a lot of things that were happening many times, and trust me, we don't get everything. Everything doesn't get leaked out. You understand? So it's when the time comes for them to make a decision saying we're going to let this guy go, there must have been a ton of things. But when you tell me somebody's unprofessional, the first thing I think of is he probably has bad practice habits.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't pay attention to small details like what are you doing with your body? Learning how to get better. Are you trying to get better after your best season? What's really going on? Because Aubameyang's best season in Arsenal was in 2020 during the lockdown when he helped them win FA Cup.
FA Cup.
And
Yep.
really, I think and that was a time when they were talking about contracts. It was this whole contract thing. He got the money, and quite frankly, has not produced since then. He did all right to obviously start the 2021 season. He was on the bench. I think he was injured or had COVID or something like that. He didn't start out the season, came back. Arsenal lost their first 5 matches, I believe, in that season. And then they bounced back. In fact, for them to have even been in the top 4 conversation was a testament to Arteta's skills. But yeah, Aubameyang, man, he needs to either do something different, move leagues, but definitely is not the player he used to be anymore. That one,
absolutely. Absolutely. I was also very impressed with Nani's this Madueke kid today. He was impressed. He tormented them on that right flank. I was impressed. His ball, he has ball IQ, and the way he moves the ball with the left foot, and he's good. He's really good. I was impressed.
He has talent for sure.
He's
I
talented.
actually saw him when he was with PSV Eindhoven.
I know, but yeah.
I watched him when he was with PSV Eindhoven, and I was like, yeah, this kid is good, man. And interesting story. A guy I know from secondary school knows his dad in London, so he had put me in touch with his dad, and we made a pitch. We actually made a pitch to his dad to represent him. But his dad was like, "Oh,
kid is young. He's only 20. He just turned 20.
Yeah. He was young.
What does that say?
His dad said he already had an agent, but that the whole spiel of
Oh, okay.
let's keep
You guys,
talking.
you guys are trying, man.
We tried.
That would have been a good
We tried.
good signing.
And so when the boy came on today, I just started laughing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But we tried to make a pitch for him. But he's at PSV. You should see his highlights, man. He's even
I saw. I went today after his game today. I went on YouTube and I just put in his highlights. Yo, the boy has some skills.
Yeah, he does that. He has skills. But I mean, when I went there, I mean, it seems like Chelsea likes Igbo boys now, man. Because Chukwuemeka, when I went to that game,
those ones aren't Igbo boys. They already told you they want to play for England, so we don't.
I know.
They already told you Nigeria is not an option for them. I guess maybe Biafra, hopefully.
But bro, think about it though. Olise, Eze, now this Madueke, Chukwuemeka, all these guys, man. Imagine if
but Chukwuemeka is not Britain. He's Austrian.
Belgian or something? Austrian, yeah, one of those countries I know.
Yeah,
imagine you can choose Austria over Nigeria. That tells you something. That tells you everything you need to know. They're going to choose Austria over Nigeria. And you're saying that at 20 years old. That says everything.
Actually, he's younger. He's 18.
Yeah, he's young. He's
even worse. Even worse.
But Boma, to your point, let's go back to like what you were just saying about the number of Nigerian players that are out, like the Olise, the Chukwuemekas, the all these guys. Eze, yes.
All these guys, man. Yeah.
These guys,
they're more.
Man.
Hell, they're fantastic. Look at old boy from Arsenal. He had the best World Cup to me on the English team. Saka, Bukoya.
Saka. Yeah. Saka, yeah.
So I mean, when you look at it from that standpoint, these guys are out there. Imagine if, I mean, I don't want to imagine if they all can play for Nigeria because at the end of the day, because my argument on this has always been they won't be fully dialed in.
Right.
They don't have an affinity with that jersey. If you ask most of them what's Green Eagles, they'll be like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Not just that too. It's like also, I mean, but there's something to be said. I think I forget who said that just very recently, man, when they were saying, oh, it was the Nigerian under 20 team is getting ready for the under 20 AFCON that starts on February 19th. All right. And they just played a friendly match today against Zambia and beat them 4-2. But the coaches, was it the coaches or maybe some pundits? They invited a couple of gentlemen from England. They had actually quite about 5 or 6 European guys come in, European-born players come in to represent, fight for a spot. But most of those guys were sent home. I think they only kept maybe 1 or 2. One of them might even be a goalkeeper, and the other one, I don't know, whatever. And the question is that, yes, these guys are skillful, no doubt about it, but they don't have the African mentality and the ruggedness that is required to play these matches. And I think we understand what that means. Although some people are skeptical about that and saying they didn't bribe. That's why they're sending them back. So there might be some truth to that too. I wouldn't discount that. But I also think, yes, there is that aspect where some of these guys, and you see that with a couple of the players that come in. You saw that with Calvin Bassey when he first played. You saw that a little bit with even William Truce Ekong when he first started, although he rounded out a little bit, although now I think he's not up to par, if you ask me. But especially defenders, you even saw that a little bit with Ademola Lookman when he played his first couple of matches against Ghana, which have been the only games he played. They threw him right into the fray in the highest level competition you could possibly have in this African level. But it's different, man. They have to come out here and play in the African heat. They're not used to. Even our guys that have been playing in Europe struggle with that heat when they first come. They have to acclimatize. And then the other part is that ruggedness and the referees allowing anything to go in Africa. Rugged tackles. And then just the physical nature of the game. If that's not what you've been used to playing, you're used to technical playing, Iwobi type style. It's going to be tough for you to translate that. And if you have so many of those players on the team at once, it throws off the balance of the team. Yeah, they might be more skillful. Here's another thing. The type of pitches we play on, those rough bouncing pitches, those guys aren't used to that for sure. It takes a special type of skill to play on those kind of pitches, which our guys have been doing since time immemorial. So I totally agree with that. So to me, I agree with what you said, Bomo. If you put too many of those guys, then you lose the identity of the country, right? That identity that your country has,
Yes.
but also that it takes them time to acclimatize to the game, and some never do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, it's a good point. And speaking about that, when you look at like the other piece that we had talked about, the Victor Osihmen. Osihmen is one of those guys. Whether you watch him at Napoli or you watch him at Super Eagles, you see the same thing. The intensity, I'm telling you, man, the way he plays the game, he's an intense individual, man. Like when he plays for Nigeria, like that Ghana qualifier, he was the only one on the pitch that was trying to make something happen. You could see him like at one point calling his teammates, "Let's go and win this game."
Right.
And when he wears that jersey, he represented Nigeria in under 17. He's doing it again now. And the question is, I've been looking at a bunch of different strikers, man. I mean, can you name a bunch that are better than Osimhen right now in Europe?
If you want to say a bunch, the answer is emphatically no. But I thought the question we were asking is whether he's the best forward in Europe.
Is he the best?
So
Is Victor Osihmen the best striker in Europe right now? Because
I think saying yes or no would be a disservice to our fans who might be watching, or whoever watches this now or later. I think maybe the best thing to do is to see what stratosphere is he in. Who are considered the best forwards in all of Europe? So I did something really fast. I went and looked at the list of top scorers in all the leagues we have, and I didn't just pick because you scored the most goals, I'm going to put you in this list. But I just picked top scorers within a certain age, under a certain age, and also with a certain pedigree. To say, okay, let's compare these guys and let's see how they compare. One thing I have to say, I think everyone would agree the best forward in Europe is Erling Haaland. Yeah, there's no doubt in that. Yeah, so I guess the argument would say if Osihmen plays in this team, then he was scoring now. But Haaland's been scoring goals for fun since forever.
Yep.
So let's dead that argument. Haaland is the best center forward in Europe, in the world, to me. But if you look at Italy, where Osihmen plays, the top scorers of comparisons will be, and again, I wanted to just leave it at forwards, center forwards, and maybe some forward wide players that score lots of goals, with skill. So Osihmen has 14. Lukman, 12. Rafael Leao from Portugal, 8 goals for AC Milan. I had to add this guy, Kvaratskhelia, just because that's my guy. Kvaratskhelia is my guy. That guy brings joy just to watch him just have the ball at his feet. He has 7 goals. He's not a forward, we know, but if it came to better player, I think I'll take Kvara over Osihmen. But I know we're talking about forward, so I just want to just
wait. Ademola Lookman has 12.
Ademola is number 2 in Italy with 12 goals. You haven't been following the kind of season.
No, I've been missing his games.
By far the best player of Atalanta. By far. And Atalanta themselves, they're silently creeping up in the standings in Serie A. And then, although this gentleman is down the list, but mainly it's because he's been injured, Vlahovic, that plays for Juventus. He's 21 years old. So it's really Vlahovic, Leao, and Osihmen that have been the 3 young forwards in Italy that everyone talks about. In that bunch, I think I'll take Osihmen over any one of those guys.
No, Osihmen is a problem. Oof.
He's a savage.
He's a problem.
Savage.
All right, let's go to Spain.
They're going to win. Napoli's going to win the Serie A this season.
Napoli is up by 13 points already. They've already won Serie A. That one's the question is whether they can. How far can they go in Champions League? That's really the biggest question for them right now.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. Let's go to Spain. We have Lewandowski. Again, I put him in there because it's Lewa. He's 34 years old, so he's not legacy. Really, but it's Lewandowski. You can't mention forwards and not mention his name. And in the same category is Karim Benzema. Lewandowski's got 14 goals. Ben's got 9. And Ben's has missed a lot of games. And then the one guy that is just tearing it up right now, man, he's going supernova a little bit too, is Vinicius Jr.
Oh, Vinicius.
Yes.
Man.
Vinicius is playing ball. Now, who's a better player? Obviously, Osihmen is a forward and Vinicius is a wide player, but
with a winger,
Who would you take between him? I think that's the first time that I came down and I said I had to think about it. Like, Vinny or Osihmen. Oh, okay, granted, I'll just put them in the same team. Forget it. I'm not going to pick one or the other.
But you know what, though? But you know what? That says something, because when was the last time we identified a Nigerian player that we said we would compare him to a player the caliber of Vinicius and say, we don't know. That just shows you how Osihmen is playing right now.
The last time I remember we had players of this ilk. We had to go as far back as Kanu early.
Kanu of Ajax or Kanu of?
Yes, now. That Kanu name. The Ajax Kanu carries on. Let's definitely Kanu of Ajax now. League players. I think, if anything, is like Obago when he was in Italy. He had that 1 or 2 years. No one was consistent like that. You'll even think of, I know a lot of people wouldn't like this, but Yakubu as a scorer. All right, but not Yakubu is nowhere near the player that Osihmen
feed the yak and he will score. Right?
In Europe anyway. And then even position player wise, and Vincent Anyama, in those couple of years he was in France and Lille when he was just tearing it up, with almost got the record for the most shutouts, longest number of minutes without conceding a goal, won the glove or whatever they call that award they give in France, and obviously won the best African player award. You know, Anyama was almost world class, if not world class, at least at some point.
As a goalkeeper, which is unbelievable. So that's a good one. Let's go to England. Actually, let's leave England for last, because I think that one everybody will be. Let's go to France. Now, again, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but I watch the French league because of all the top 5 leagues. To me, it's the most fun league to watch, to see developing players. Young players coming up.
Top 5 leagues, developing league. It's France and then Holland, I think. But Holland is not top 5. But that's the league where top 5 teams will go get guys that are ready to play, plug and play in Premier League in Spain. Folarin Balogun. Have you guys heard about this guy?
Yeah,
I've heard about him. I haven't seen any of his game.
Listen to me, for Folarin Balogun. I feel if he wanted to make a name for himself, he would have fought for his position at Arsenal. That's my take.
My brother, Chris. Is he not making a name for himself now?
I mean, but not on the Premier League level.
Who cares? He's the top scorer in freaking League On, where Messi plays, Mbappe plays right now.
Brother,
he scored a hat trick. He scored a hat trick just yesterday.
Lacazette was the top scorer at Lyon before he came to Arsenal. And what happened?
But guess what? That's how Lacazette. But Lacazette had a fine career now. What are you talking about?
No, not in the Premier League, brother.
Oh, no. Lacazette had a decent career. It wasn't a star.
In League 1, yes.
Chris. Lacazette was not a superstar. But everyone can't be a superstar. But Lacazette held his own in the Premier League. He put up numbers. It was serviceable until the last year, when he wasn't getting playing time anymore, because they brought in guys that were better than him. There's no Lacazette can't
his
leave.
Expectation, what people expected from him coming from Lyon as a top. There was a time Lacazette was beating wars. Teams were bidding for him like crazy.
Well, my brother, did Lacazette make a name for himself or not?
In Lyon, in France, yeah, not in England.
No, he made a name for himself in world football. He was a French national team player. You know what I mean? He's past 30 now. So now him going back to France is exactly how I feel Nigerian players should do anyway. If we have a league, you go play in Europe, come back and play in a league in your last couple of years.
Here's why I beg to differ there. If Lacazette made a name for himself in England, Lacazette was in Arsenal for 2 World Cups. He never got picked.
I think one of them he was injured. Let's be honest. And then
I think
the first one he was injured.
Which one? 2018?
Yeah, but see, look, again, I'm not saying I started by saying he's not the best player in the world, but
yeah,
he made his name, and he was talking about France. This is the best team in the world. They won the World Cup.
Yeah,
and they have look at the players. It's not like he was second fiddle to scrubs. Second fiddle to Mbappe and guys like Giroud.
Listen, now him and Giroud, for instance, Giroud was a little older than him, Giroud has made his name in France and in England.
My brother, Lacazette has
But
made his name in France and England. You can't deny that. Everyone knows who Lacazette is. Again, I have to emphasize, when you say make a name, are you looking for a world beater? No, Lacazette doesn't have to be a world beater. But anyway, let's go back to this conversation we have, because I think with the argument of Lacazette, we may never convince each other. But for Lauren Balogun, his decision has been great. He's playing for ball. He stay at Arsenal. He's not getting on the field. Eden Nketiah is in the above him in the pecking order. And Nketiah himself is only playing because Javier Jesus is hurt. Right? If Javier Jesus wasn't hurt, then Nketiah would be getting scrub minutes. And at best, Balogun would have been loaned out to Newcastle United, or maybe it's not even Newcastle now, because Newcastle is good now. They've been loaned out to somebody who is in the bottom half of the table. And those aren't even great, always necessary. I mean, it's good for you to play because it developed guys like Lukaku and a bunch of other guys that went and played in those smaller teams before they came up and played for the big Chelseas and Manchester Uniteds. But my brother, Osihmen started in France. That's where he made his name before he came to Italy. And now we're looking at it. You have to start somewhere. You have to play. And I don't. In fact, the problem with English-born players, they never leave England. They stay in England. So once you see guys that get up and get out of England, you start seeing them flourish. Ademola Lookman did the same thing. You know, Everton wasn't giving him playing time. He said, to hell with this. I'm going to RB Leipzig. Leipzig wasn't giving him time. He said, to hell with this. I'm coming back on loan to England. Let me go around. I'll go on loan to multiple teams. And Leicester today, they're like smacking themselves for not having re-signed Ademola Lookman last year, because now they could use him right now because they're struggling with scoring. You know, he was and when he was playing last year, he was scoring. And just that Brendan Rodgers, I don't rate him as that great of a manager anyway. But that's a whole different topic altogether. But look at him now in Italy. Oh, you got to go out there and go get it done. You have to go play. And I don't blame him for going to France. Right now, guess what? Teams are going to be bidding for this guy. Whether he's maybe not coming back to I don't know if he's on loan. Is he on loan?
Lookman?
No, Balogun.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Okay, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, he's on loan. He's on loan.
I guarantee you that
he's on loan.
Bidding war for him at some point in the next year or so if he keeps up this form. So that's a good thing for him. But in any case, that's an interesting one. That's who leads the French league in goals right now with 14. Of course, there's other names that you know of. Mbappe. Again, Mbappe, that one, there's no comparing Osihmen to Mbappe. Actually, there is comparing. I think that's the player that has the most similar type profile to Vitor Osihmen, actually, is Kylian Mbappe. Except Mbappe is a white player.
Yeah. But the thing is, like Balogun, by the way, he's on loan, and then 2, he was born in the U.S.
Yeah, I just saw that.
He can play for United States, England, or Nigeria.
Belgium.
Yeah.
No, it's U.S. Isn't Belgium in the mix too?
No, it's U.S. and England.
He
played for the English youth team.
Yeah, he did. Under 21.
Yeah, but he's already said he wants to play for England. He said he doesn't want to play for USA or Nigeria. So England is the team he wants to play for.
Yeah.
So there goes another one again.
The Tammy Abraham course is what I.
Neymar.
You know what?
Neymar's got 12. Terran Murphy.
How many goals does Murphy have?
He got 12 too.
Wow.
But he just transferred to Nice from Lorient, which a lot of people are like, why did you do that? Because Marseille was trying to hand in they actually handed in a bid that seemed to be the best bid, and it was accepted by Lorient, but Terran Murphy rejected the bid.
So it's possible that we can have a front 3 of Osihmen, Ademola Lookman, and Murphy.
Possible? No. I mean, it's possible, yes, but we don't want to put all 3 of them at the front of the field at the same time. We'll never have. We'll just be loose because none of those guys track back at all.
So who would be our front? Who would be Nigeria's front 3 right now?
Right now, the front 3, I would put Lookman probably over Moses Simon. Although I wouldn't surprise the coach put Simon over Lookman just because our coaches. But I put Lookman over Moses Simon. Chukwueze will be on the right. Chukwueze has returned to form this year too. If we're going to play that 4-3-3, we usually play, and then Iwobi has to be on the field, and Iwobi must be behind the striker or lately, you know what Pesero has been doing?
Iwobi has
He's
been playing that role though.
Iwobi has been playing the role of Ndidi's role. Deep line like the trequartista that what's his name was playing in Italy for the longest. The guy with the lovely hair and beard with the free kicks. What's his name, man? You guys should remind me. The Italian maestro. Anyways, that's the kind of role that Pesero, the coach of the Super
what's his
Eagles,
name? I can see his face right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing his face too, but it says this in the conversation we're having. I can't remember his name.
Pirlo.
Andrea Pirlo. That's the role that Iwobi is playing in the Super Eagles, and kind of sort of even in Everton with Frank Lampard, kind of played a little bit of that, just a little bit hybrid of that role. Iwobi was almost playing box to box.
Yeah, I like
useless wing back position that the former coach had him playing out of position, but Iwobi has thrived. And I'm really
I love how Lampard is using him. Lampard
is not the operative word. Lampard was operative word.
Yeah, Lampard was using him. But
the interesting thing would be this new coach. How is he going to deploy Iwobi?
We'll see.
So
is he back though? He got injured. Iwobi got injured.
He didn't miss a game. He got injured, but he didn't miss any games. And he played well still. So Ben Yedder has 12 goals too, and then Lionel Messi with 9. I had to throw Messi in there just because. But again, we're not comparing. Again, Messi is not really a forward, so like in the mold of. So I think at the end there we can leave Messi on the side. We're not comparing anybody to Messi.
Yeah.
So I look at this list, and only Mbappe, obviously, right? So if we just do a small recap. We're looking at Vinicius Jr. in Spain and if we say ignore Lewandowski and Benz, then we're looking at Mbappe, then Osihmen. Those are the 3 so far, in my opinion. So let's go to Germany. This one, there's one player in there, and I want to see if you guys actually there's a few players, but top scorer is Nicholas Füllkrug. Your German friend was talking about, he had also, I think he had about 2 goals in the World Cup too.
Yeah. Mike was talking about before the World Cup, yeah.
Right. He's got 13 goals to lead. Then my guy now. This is my guy. My guy. Christopher Nkunku.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be a Chelsea player.
My brother. Now, out of all this list, if we remove the guys that we know, like on a other level, and we're starting to really put comparison, it's Nkunku and Osihmen. Those are the 2 most comparable players for age, for style of play. Play the same position, center forward, the hustle. Nkunku does no ball. It goes past Nkunku. Nkunku assists. He does everything. All right. I don't know. I'm Nigerian, so I'll probably take Osihmen over Nkunku, but Jesus.
But you know what, though? That beautiful breakdown that you just gave highlights one thing. Osihmen is ranked. He's up there with the top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Of course.
I mean, did you see his last goal against Roma? Was it Roma? Yeah.
Are you asking me? Hold on, Chris. Hold on. Are you asking me if I saw Osimen's last goal? Do you know that I don't miss 1 second of Vitor Osihmen?
I get your text messages, man. I get your text messages. This guy sent me text messages. Man, Osihmen is at it again. You know what I mean?
I was watching ESPN the day after that. They showed that goal it was like all day. It was like a rerun all day.
Bro.
that was a banger.
That's quality combined with everything else you can think about.
Quick
anger,
anger,
skill, anger, just everything. You know what that goal reminded me of, fam? I want you guys to, if you can, look for the highlights of Rashidi Yekini. I think there's a couple of matches. I think go back to, if you can look at the highlights, go back to the 1992 African Cup of Nations, Nigeria versus Kenya, and you'll see a goal just like that from Rashidi Yekini. But I think Osimen's goal is even better.
Yes, it was a crossing, chest, thigh shot. It doesn't get better than
that game between Nigeria and Kenya in 1992, I think it might have been either the first or second match in the group stage. Obviously, we're playing Kenya. That same type of effort, it was a cross from the left, but it was from a right-footed cross from the left. I'm trying to remember who made that cross. It was delicious. It was delicious. And the ball
with the outside foot?
outside of the foot just went around the defenders. Yakini collected that ball with his chest, and he didn't do it with his thigh like Osihmen did. But when he blasted that ball, the goalkeeper was like, "Thank God I didn't even try to put my hand to touch it because
Yakini was a bruiser with skill."
And if you want to see another goal of Yakini, it's the African Cup of Nations again, 1994. Google Nigeria versus Gabon and watch the third goal that Nigeria scored and the second he scored in that game. In fact, just watch all the highlights of all the goals. Even the first goal was a beautiful one, whereas actually the first goal was similar, except it wasn't a volley. He put the ball over the goalkeeper's head. The on-rushing goalie came out, put it over his head, chested it, and then headed it into the empty net for the first goal of the game. And then the third one was the second goal of the game, a free kick where it wasn't even much of a run-up. The nets, and that's how I know the manufacturer of that net put strong nets in there. Because that ball, by all rights, should have torn that net to pieces. the way Rashidi Yakini took that shot. Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyways, Nkunku, he's got 12 goals. Thuram, he's got 2. Now this guy is really good, but he's more of a midfielder, really, that's still young enough to be up front. Is Musiala, Jamal Musiala. That's a baller. I think by far Germany's best player at the World Cup. 9 goals. Serge Gnabry has 8. And I threw in Choupo-Moting just because we had a conversation about Choupo-Moting last year. He has 7 goals. So as great as Choupo-Moting is, he's only 3rd on his team in goals.
Yeah.
And he only has 7 goals. And it seems like Choupo-Moting scores every single week.
He's doing well. He's doing well, though.
He's a hell of a player, man.
He's a hell of a player.
I wouldn't say a hell of a player. I'll say
he's a hell of a player, man.
I don't know. He's having a great season, but he's not a hell of a player.
Listen, he's the type of player that would do well in a team like one of this EPL struggling teams and stuff. You know what I mean? Or like at Everton, or like.
Chris, but that's where I disagree. I think he won't do well in those teams. I think if Moting was in, what's a team? Pick a team that's maybe not relegation, but struggling. Let's say Nottingham Forest right now, because Forest they're in 13th place in the league or somewhere like that. They're no longer. I mean, they're still obviously a couple of results from being in a relegation battle, but they're actually doing pretty decent. Put him in that team. He doesn't score 10 goals. He doesn't score 10 goals. He's scoring these goals because he's playing on. I mean, okay, let me say that clearly. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just don't think he's an exceptional player, right? I think he can't carry a team. Not like he needs to, but he's doing well. Look, if you and I played in Bayern Munich, we'll score goals. We'll score tap-in goals because the team is that. Look at the list I just gave you.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Look at the guys, Musiala, Gnabry. They don't even play with a center forward anymore, really. I mean, Choupo-Moting, I guess, comes in and plays center forward too. But really, the Bayern are just they get goals all over the place. Mueller is in there. I'm sure his name is not in the fullback score. So in any case, I just want to throw that name in there. So I don't know. In Germany, to me, only Nkunku is even comparable. I think Musiala is a great player. Gnabry is a good player. Leroy Sané is in there too. He's got like 6 goals, missed a bunch of games. But, whatever. What do you guys think so far?
No, I think that was a beautiful breakdown.
We're not done, though. There's one more.
What league?
England.
No, well, we all know what time it is there, man.
But very interesting to see the top players, though. And there's actually more players that you can now make a case for in England pretty much in any other league. And that kind of highlights how good that league is, man. So how many goals do you think Haaland has scored this season?
All competitions?
No, Premier League. These are all league goals.
Haaland, 26?
No, that's
close.
All, yeah.
That's close. He's got 25.
In the EPL alone?
In league, okay. Haaland has 25 goals.
League. Yeah, in the league alone.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And they haven't played 25 games, though.
Jesus.
Yep. But were you shocked?
Yeah,
I
man.
was shocked too. My homeboy is a City fan, and he told me I had to look it up. I gave up. I was shocked.
But you know what? It doesn't
I-
surprise me because at the start of the season, remember, he was having braces, hat tricks. Braces, hat
Yes.
tricks.
So at week,
doing that
I
now.
think week 7 or week 8, he has already clocked like 15 goals
Yeah.
in the league.
The thing about Haaland is just knows where the goal is at. Haaland could wake up out of bed with his eyes still closed and he'll score without even knowing. He just knows where the goal is at. Now, the thing about Haaland's game, surprisingly, he's not very proficient as a header of the ball. Like, that's something he still needs to work on. Osihmen is the best header of the ball in terms of scoring goals in Italy. Hands down. No one in the last 2 years, no one has scored more goals by heading than Vitor Osihmen. Haaland, however, also doesn't do link up very well. Really, at the end of the day, if you look at it, he has only they always chronicle this when they broadcast how many touches he has. He's not very involved in the game. He just comes alive in the box.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. When I watched him, that's what. And once the ball gets so like De Bruyne, they look for him. You could see it. They look for him and they put the ball at a certain spot.
Right.
So yeah.
So his game is still getting better, or can still get better. I think in terms of hold up play, linking up with teammates, I think that's also where Osihmen needs to work on a little bit. That link up play, he can clean that up. But I think Osimen's already better than Haaland at that and heading. But I think Haaland is just a better natural finisher of the. If Haaland sees the white of the eyes of the goalkeeper, it's guaranteed that the ball. In fact, the goalkeeper already knows that the ball's in the back of the net. So. That's just and he doesn't miss too many chances, which Osihmen can clean up. He misses some chances, take some wild shots, but that's any forward. The other guy is Ivan Toney. That's who's in third place in England. He's got 13 goals. I put Ivan Toney in here. Clearly, I think we all can agree that Ivan Toney is not the same skill level of the other guys we talked about, Osihmen, but I actually wanted to kind of give him some love, man, because that guy been balling the last couple of seasons. But I don't think he gets the kind of recognition that he deserves to get because he plays for a team like Brentford.
That's a good breakdown. Who's second in EPL after Haaland?
Second is Harry Kane with 16 goals.
Kane.
I mean, no, we don't need to. It's Harry Kane, Now the question is Harry Osihmen better than Harry Kane?
If I was a coach, I would prefer Osihmen over Harry Kane.
I don't think so. I don't agree with that. I believe Harry Kane is a good finisher compared to Osihmen.
Hey, just quick. Sorry, guys. I just added my boy, Mr. Wally. This is Roma.
Welcome in. Welcome,
hi guys.
From Dallas.
Yeah, how you guys doing, man?
We are good, brother.
How will you break them down now? Why would you say Harry Kane is a better striker than
Harry Kane is a way better striker in the sense that Harry Kane has shown in the past couple of seasons, say 4 or 5 seasons, how top a striker he is. Osihmen is just shining for the first time in Italy, and then everybody's shouting about him being one of the top strikers in the world. I agree that he's still young. He has time on his hands. He's going to improve definitely. But Harry Kane is a total finisher. He comes to the midfield, get the ball. His link up play, his intelligence is top notch.
No, you're right about all those things. But you also know Osihmen scored a lot of goals. How many goals did Osihmen score last season?
Osihmen scored 14 goals last season, but
he was up there too.
A bunch of games.
He missed a bunch of games.
Mr. GB, that's what your name says.
Yes, sir.
So you're absolutely correct that I agree with you. I think Harry Kane is the better product right now in terms of finished products, right?
Yeah.
It's Harry Kane. He has a body of work that we've seen, but I disagree with you that Osihmen just starts doing it this year. Osihmen did it last year. He did it a year before. The only difference was that 2 differences. One, injuries. He didn't play as many games, so the numbers. But the games when he was there, he showed what he was worth. He did it in France. One season in France. And if you look at it, you can look at the awards he was receiving in all those places. That tells you that they recognize, even with the injury-shortened seasons, he was still getting voted either best young player.
Young player of the year. Young player.
Most number of headed goals last year in Serie A with and missing up more than 6 weeks due to a fractured cheekbone. In France, top scorer in France. I think he was a top scorer in that one season he was there, and at least led Lille in number of goals, and whatnot, and won the African Player of the Year in France in that one season he was there. So, so I wouldn't say he just did it. I think Osihmen has shown over the years of progression. It's just now this is the first season where one, he's stayed relatively healthy. Two, the team is starting to play for him. Right? That change between Lorenzo Insigne on the left and Kvara Kvaratskhelia, the biggest difference. Last year, when Insigne had the ball on the left, he's cutting inside, a right-footed player cutting inside, he's looking to shoot. He was never looking to pass to Osihmen, and Osihmen was always very frustrated, right? Because they wouldn't look for Osihmen, and he would make those runs, bully defenders, wouldn't get the ball. This year, Kvara gets the ball, heads up, might dribble one or two, is looking for Victor immediately.
Yep. I agree.
So you're seeing the difference, and so now we're seeing that, and also obviously the improvements. He's stayed in that same team. Yeah. But I also think one more thing that is overlooked is Luciano Spalletti. That guy is one hell of a coach, and he also brings out offensive football better than any other coach I've seen in Italy over the last 20 years. Because if you look at his Atalanta teams that he had, I believe it was Atalanta. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But one of the teams he had prior, they were offensive geniuses, even though they weren't winning anything. But with this Napoli team, you're seeing the complete package.
Right.
Let me round up this league, this list, because there's some very interesting players on this list. So we mentioned the top three. Marcus Rashford has 9 goals in the Premier League. Somebody you could mention. No,
he's had a pretty good season. I've been watching him this season. He's
having a blast since after the World Cup.
Yeah, right. He had a good World Cup.
He had a good World Cup.
He had a good World Cup. Yeah, he had a good World Cup.
Mohamed Salah got 7 goals. Clearly, he's on the downswing. I don't think he's somebody that, it's still Mo Salah, but I think he's on the downward trend in his career now because he's over that 30-year-old hill. Yep. I think 31, and he got paid, and plus he don't have Mane no more.
Yep. That Mane leaving Liverpool, my God,
that's like your backbone right there.
Yeah, it really affected that team.
So I added other players to this list. They aren't necessarily for comparison to Vitor Osihmen, but just kind of sort of talking about good players and that play in the forward row. Yeah, I don't think that they are guys that are better than Osihmen or whatnot or better goal scorers. But if you look at Bukayo Saka, he does everything for Arsenal. He's got 7 goals. He's got multiple assists. But he's also like a leader of that team, and he does a lot of things that you can't even necessarily quantify on stats. Right. I put him in there too. A player to watch. Odegaard in the same regard. If you talk about Saka, you can't talk about Odegaard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody else I put, because he's been injured, his numbers are not there, but really he made the biggest difference for Arsenal at the beginning of the season was Gabriel Jesus, right? He plays center forward. He only has 5 goals, but he's missed altogether it'll be 3 months that he would have missed, So if he was healthy, his numbers would be maybe double that amount. He should have about 10 goals by now. And one would agree that he's also, a top striker in European football. Again, is he better than Osihmen? I'll leave that up to you guys. And then final guy, and the reason I put him on here is because there was that at the beginning of the season, it was a comparison between Vitor Osihmen, Vlahovic from Serbia that plays for AC Milan, and Darwin Núñez for Liverpool now. So I just put him on there. He has 5 goals, and he's been looking like a flop so far.
Darwin Núñez. I have some reservation about that guy. He hasn't impressed me so far in the EPL.
But I caution everybody to make any quick judgment about Núñez because it's first season in EPL.
I agree. I agree totally with that. I was talking to Chris the other day when he was making it buzz about Chelsea bringing in Fofana, Enzo, everybody. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be their first season in EPL. Gotta take it easy with them giving you the best in their first season. Normally, players don't come from other countries to play in EPL and just boom, they're up there. It takes time.
Yeah.
Which is what makes Haaland doing what he does even more exceptional.
Exactly, I agree with you. It's just way exceptional. Alan is breaking all records. Even in, fantasy Premier League, he's breaking all records.
Yeah, it's also it makes a difference the kind of players that you play with and the kind of system you're going into. When you look at that, I was just telling him I went to watch City against Chelsea live. When you watch that City team, they're just a well-oiled machine, man. Like you could just tell they do the simple things well. They don't waste balls. They try to conserve energy. When you have the ball, they put pressure on you to try to win the ball back immediately. They don't waste any time. They don't waste any energy. And then when Pep sees guys are getting tired, that game, second half, he brought in Riyad Mahrez and Grealish. And Riyad Mahrez scores. I mean, the whole game changed. Because once Mahrez came in, the way they played on that right wing changed everything. Everything. The threat level changed. Everything changed. So, I mean, that team is just... And then you take Haaland, who's already a talented forward, and you put him in a team like that. Pep doesn't make him do anything too extra. He has the pieces.
That guy's the freshest 90-minute play I've ever seen. Because
it
doesn't even run. It just waits till they have the Bruyne has the ball before it does anything.
He's running.
You know what I mean? And they look for him. De Bruyne looks up. It looks Bernardo Silva looking for him.
But we said this last year. Now, remember when the announcement was made that Haaland was going to be signing with Man City? And what's the first thing I said? This guy's just going to score tapping goals. He's going to score tapping goals. I mean, Bomo, you already know. I've been following Haaland since the days of when he was an under-20 for Norway. And I already knew I picked him to be the best striker we've ever seen, right? Back when he was still a 19-year-old, 18-year-old playing for Norway. That game when he scored 9 goals in one game against whoever it was, they scored against
the World Cup
under 20. But watching him play in the Champions League for the Austrian team that he ended up getting sold from to Borussia Dortmund, and you could just see, man, it doesn't matter. The guy scores. It's just... Put him in Norway's national team, that sucks. He scores. Put him in Borussia Dortmund with very good young players. He scores. In the Austrian team, he scores. So scoring is just natural for him. He's the most natural scorer I've ever seen.
Does he remind you of Zlatan in a way?
No. He reminds me of himself. There's nobody that I can compare him to.
I can't compare him to anybody. I see that guy on the field, and I just see a beast.
Thank you. That's it.
He's a beast. He's a beast. No question.
Nothing else. Just the hunger to score is there. It's just there's a hunger, there's a skill, there's something that you're born with that you can't teach.
Hunger alone. This guy he intimidates defenders. He looks at them in the eye and like, I'm gonna score you.
Yeah, he's
and
big.
Here's the thing. He's not even there yet.
I agree, 100%. 100%. He's young.
Not there yet.
He's young. Oh my God, that guy is a best.
So we're gonna see things from this, and God willing, he stays healthy. And what I would like to see is me personally see Vitor Osihmen really improve to a level where we can be seeing a battle between Mbappe,
both of them.
Osihmen, Nkunku. I think we've all agreed that these are the guys. I think from this list we talked about, those are the top 4 guys that are on this list are Nkunku, Haaland, Osihmen, and Mbappe, at least on that age group. Obviously we have Lewandowski and Benzema. Those are the senior guys that in terms of strikers, they're the Messi and Ronaldo of this generation, for these young guys. But man.
Speaking about Osihmen, how do you think all this success would translate into our beloved Super Eagles? No, seriously, because when you have your player like doing this well, this successful, ranked as one of the top 5, 6 strikers in Europe, and then we have African Nations Cup qualifiers coming up. Osihmen has to play every game. I'm worried about that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, we need him, but can we manage him? at the same time and say, you know what, we have Murphy, we have some other strikers out there. Let's manage this kid a little bit more and play him in those games that matter, those games that count. So why not just throwing him in just because we want to go play a qualifier against Uganda? We'll take
Oh
Osihmen
boy.
a
What
qualifier.
does Mbappe sit when they're playing against Faroe Islands in World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah,
No.
No, it doesn't.
yeah, but that's World Cup qualifiers though.
Well, Europe. What's the difference?
African Nations Cup qualifiers
Does Mbappe
against
sit when they're playing?
Madagascar.
Does Mbappe Madagascar they
You
beat
know what I
Nigeria
mean?
in the Cup of Nations? So you can't underrate those teams. Does Mbappe sit when they play Faroe Islands in Euro qualifying? No, they don't sit. Players play. That's young. If you're a player, you come out there, you play.
But
Yeah.
like you said, remember the African conditions are different, right?
Well,
We
then he's
agreed
African,
on
and
that.
but he came through Africa, so it's not like he's one of these guys.
You should be used to it.
So speaking of that, so if you want to bring that up, so just today, CAF just approved Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja and Uyo Stadium. That's the two stadiums we'll use for our qualifiers moving forward. So that's a positive because those are the two best.
Moshood Abiola Stadium?
In Abuja?
No, you mean National Stadium?
No, Moshood Abiola Stadium.
Is it called Moshood Abiola? Did they name that stadium after Moshood Abiola?
Yes, they did.
They did?
It's never been the national stadium. National stadium is in Surulere.
Which other stadium did they mention?
I forget the naming, but the one in Uyo, the one the Super Eagles have played in forever, and look, the one the players have been asking for to play in.
That's the former governor. That's the former governor now. What's his name?
Godswill Akpabio Stadium.
Stadium.
So the players been asking for Uyo. Yeah, we've been taking them to places like Asaba, to Benin, to these. Asaba's grass is taller than Vitor Osihmen himself. Benin Stadium, the less I speak of that football field, the better. They take them to Lagos, not even to the, it's just
Teslim Balogun. They take them
Teslim Balogun. That's so small, holds 20,000 people. You understand? So it's like, and the field's bouncy. But not like the Abuja Stadium is great or the Uyo Stadium is great, but those are the two best pitches we have over the years that we've seen football in Nigeria. So the thing I like that CAF is doing now is if your stadium is not good enough, you won't play at home. So if you're the Republic of Benin, or let's say Sierra Leone, when they took us to that disgraceful pitch they took us to for the qualifiers, you come with that pitch, CAF will tell you, no, we're going to go play the match in Monastir in Algeria, your home match on a good field, or we go to Morocco, Agadir. We even did a match in Cameroon against, I believe it was Equatorial Guinea or somebody like that we played in the World Cup. So these countries, it's going to force countries to now start upgrading their facilities. And the fact that Nigeria only has 2 fields approved says a lot right there, because that means Teslim Balogun wasn't approved. Samuel Memudia in Benin wasn't approved, and I don't know the name of the Asaba Stadium. Stephen
Keshi.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We have stadiums in every state in that country.
But yeah, we have stadiums, and we don't have good pitches.
Good pitches, yep.
Yeah, someone will tell you 300 million naira to go renovate grass.
but that's real grass, not turf, though, right?
Real grass, not turf.
But they get the grass from Brazil. It's Brazilian grass now. Brazilian grass is more expensive than Nigeria. My people.
Hey guys, I want to take this time to welcome Wayne, my Jamaican brethren. Hey Wayne, how you doing? Welcome to the pod.
Welcome, Wayne.
Welcome,
Wayne.
Wayne, are you there? Go ahead, guys.
All right, yeah. So, every state has a so-called stadium. There's noise coming from somewhere. I'm not sure. Okay, every state has a so-called stadium, but very few of those places are up to par. Like last week, I had Adewale Ajayi on here. He was just talking about it, like some of the things that Ibrahim Gassou, the new NFF president, is going to have to do. Is going to have to increase the number of pitches where we can play. There are not enough football pitches in the country. and that's one of the development aspects of things that he has to do. So you're right. It's a disgrace that only 2 stadiums got approved. We should have at least 15 of them that eventually get approved.
I want to add one more thing to the space of Nigerian football, and I know Wayne, my man, is from Jamaica here, so maybe this doesn't apply to him, but he can learn about us a little bit more. And so very interesting development. Very interesting development just occurred in the and by the way, the Nigerian Football League this season is turning it out to be a very interesting league. It's probably the most interesting league that we've seen in a long time. Teams are winning on the road, right? Right now, we're looking at Remo Stars, very professionally branded. If you look at the way they introduced their jerseys, it looked almost like how you will see European teams doing that jersey introduction, the team introduction, right? Very professionally done. Bendel Insurance has come back. They're looking pretty good. Obviously aimed by Strong 2, Canopilas, and all those. But Bayelsa United had a match. I forget who they played. They might have played against Rivers United, but it was Bayelsa United played a match, and there was some violence against the road team and some officials from the road team. They fined them, I think it was 10 million naira. That closed down the stadium to fans.
Wow.
For a number of games, and ordered them to pay 250,000 naira in restitution to the guy that got assaulted. I have never seen that before, and swiftly come down. Now, the problem with that is that, yes, that the fines are on there, but will they actually enforce them? Because Nigerians, they'll say, hey, we're giving you houses because you won the World Cup, and 15 years from now, those houses haven't been given. So
yeah, but the one thing I heard about that is that there's a double standard. Like that, the people I know are saying this, that if that happened in Bayelsa or in Owerri, they'll find them and do all these things. But if a team goes to play in Kanu and they get assaulted and they're playing Kanu Pillars, nothing happens.
We talked about that last year. We actually remember we had that conversation about this last year. So but that's the thing, though. Honestly, Aaron.
When you order from Domino's, you can get more than this.
I know that there probably is a double standard, but in the past, that just wasn't happening at all. So at least I'm just happy to see it. And on top of that, just if you're looking at the results of the league, we're just seeing a lot of teams going on the road and getting results. That, number one, is the first step in ensuring that the league has some credibility, because as we know in the past, teams don't win on the road. The best you can hope for is a draw if you're on the road, especially when you're playing against these teams that are the established teams in terms of the Canopilas and so on and so forth, Aimbas and all those teams.
No, it's a valid point. But the guy that owns Remo Stars is actually the guy that owns one of those Bet Naija companies. He owns a gambling company in Nigeria. So he went ahead. Yeah, man. But I mean, gambling, his gambling company is legal. So he just took some of that money and bought his own football.
That is good stuff.
Hey, I have a question. Does anybody can somebody enlighten me on this guy? Somebody just sent me a message about this guy, Ivan Toney. This guy is the third or fourth. He has the third or fourth highest goal scorer in the league right now in the EPL.
Mm-hmm. That's a good striker right there.
Are you serious? He's just slipping under the radar, man.
I was so shocked he wasn't taken to the World Cup.
That's what we were just talking about now. That's what we're just talking about now. How he's number? And we named that list. You didn't hear that one. So Ivan Toney wasn't taken to the World Cup for a couple of reasons. The biggest one was he has a pending gambling case.
Gambling problem.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's maybe the reason he didn't go to the World Cup. Otherwise, but he really wasn't ever in the plans of Gareth Southgate. I mean, but he plays for Brentford. So if you look at the English squad, if you don't play for those top teams, it's hard for you to break into it. You have to be exceptional.
Isn't his background Jamaican or something?
Yeah, Wayne, I was going to ask you, Wayne, is that guy Jamaican?
Yeah, his background is Jamaican, but he's not really Jamaican.
Oh.
He could play for Jamaica if he wants to.
Wow.
Yeah, he just got to get the passport, just like Antonio. He got the passport, and because he wasn't getting called up by England, and he was getting old. he wanted international caps. So he
Right.
said, well, he was waiting for so long. He was like, okay, forget it. I could go and play for Jamaica, so let me get a passport. And he got the passport, and then he slot right in.
Oh
Yep, he
wow.
scored that terrific goal against Mexico in the World Cup qualifiers last year
Yep,
from long
yep.
range. I remember that goal he scored.
Right.
Yeah, that guy is something else, man.
Yeah,
Antonio.
Antonio, yeah, he's really good. It's just that the structure around him, and as I said, he's getting old. He's not getting caps in the England team, so he was like, okay, let him go. Let's just go back to your roots, and he went back and he played in the Gold Cup. I mean, for the upcoming qualifiers, he could play, but I'm not sure this current coach is going to bring him because this coach we got, he's from Iceland. Um, he's more looking at younger players, and trying to build from there. But I mean,
And
Antonio,
he's not going to bring Antonio into the team. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not saying that he should.
You should fire that coach immediately if he decides not to bring Antonio into the team. But like, who does Jamaica have?
ASAP.
Exactly. Who is bigger than Antonio?
Hey, Wayne, let me ask you something. I don't know how old you are, but do you remember this guy?
Who is bigger than Antonio? But I mean, Jamaica has what's his name, Peanut, that plays for Brentford as well. We got what's his name that just Bobadova Reed that plays for
Yes,
Fulham.
he's good too.
We got a few players that are playing in the Premier League. So they have a training camp right now, but it's just based local based players. He's working with. He's just looking at what he could bring and mix them in with the international guys. Pretty much that's what that is.
Wayne, I don't know how old you are, but do you remember this guy, Onandi Lowe?
Yeah.
I used to love that guy, man. That guy was a striker. That guy was a striker.
He was
Onandi Lowe.
he was the only. His son plays for Miami. The MLS team for Miami. Low.
Okay.
And he plays for the national team as well. But he plays defense.
Yeah, he's not as good as his dad. His dad, number
He's
7 for Jamaica.
His dad was a monster, man. The first time
Shots.
I fell in love with Anamilo was when I saw that guy score a goal from half.
They shots. I'm telling you, that guy shot that right-footed. It's just surprising that he never made it to. I think he played in Mexico for one of the Mexican League teams.
He never played in the Premier League, but I think he played in the division on the Premier League, Division 1. I think his team never made it at that time, but remember he had an anger problem. So
you see the way he shoots the ball. If you don't have anger problem, you're not shooting the ball.
He's Jamaican.
And besides, quite frankly, and that's another thing I want to add to this list we were talking about. One thing I want my forwards to have is anger.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's a bad thing.
And
a lot of people
plays angry.
You want a vicious striker up there, man. Somebody that's always hungry, and that's gonna give you problems. It's gonna rough your defenders up a little bit, ruffle the defenders, and you make them feel threatened. Always keep them on their heels. The forward we have, they're producing now are really, really soft guys, man. Tony is probably out of all of these forwards one of the roughest and the toughest forwards I've seen. For a minute. Holland is a monster himself, but besides from that, everybody is just playing pretty soccer. Man. I don't know what's the deal with this soccer thing.
You don't think Martial is that like an angry forward, Wayne?
Martial?
Yeah.
Martial is like my little sister, man. That guy never gets angry.
I beg, don't talk bad about women. I beg. Women play
that guy never gets angry, man. You ever see Martial angry? He just took it off and then just walked back. He doesn't even
never smiles. The guy never smiles.
The guy never smiles because he's never scoring.
He has a poker face. You don't know what he's doing.
That guy is not an aggressive striker. Please don't even.
He's not. He's okay, but he's not as good, man.
By the way, Wayne, Onandi Lowe played for Port Vale on loan and Coventry City. Those are the two English teams he played for.
What division they're in? 1 or 2?
Bro, Port Vale was probably Division 2, 3rd division, and Coventry City goes up and down between 2 and
1. Oh, so he never.
They never make the Premier League, basically.
Yeah. I know he never played in the Premier League. I know that for a fact.
But I like that. He mainly. So I said he played in Mexico. I guess he never really did. He played mainly in
But he
America.
was pretty
Jamaica.
good for Jamaica, though.
Right, that's all that matters. He scored
Yeah,
27 goals for Jamaica in 65 games, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, he was pivotal, man. That guy was he was a monster, man. Headers, everything. That guy was. And people move out the way when he's hitting the ball.
Yep.
Yeah, but in the EPL and in the championship, if Jamaica wanted, they could go get their first 11 from those two leagues. There's
They
so
can.
many.
They got a lot there. Bro,
Yeah.
if I send you the list of guys that can represent Greenwood, Mason Greenwood, Aaron from where is this guy?
Wan-Bissaka? No, Bissaka is
Raheem Sterling is Jamaican.
Sterling is Jamaican, but Sterling has too much caps for England. He can't go back.
Yeah.
A couple of guys in the
there's so many. There are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them, man. Kyle Walker could represent Jamaica, but he probably has too much cap for England already.
Well, yeah, those guys aren't coming.
Yeah, those guys are not coming.
Yeah, but a lot of younger
I think
players.
Jamaica has the same type of situation with Nigeria when it comes to the relationship with
guy,
England, right?
I forgot the team that plays in green and yellow. They just got dropped out.
The Canaries.
Norwich?
No, they just got dropped out of the Premier League like a season.
The Canaries, Norwich.
Norwich.
So they have this guy that plays. Is it left back? A short, light-skinned dude. His name is Aaron. He could represent Jamaica as well. He's not getting no caps for England, but he just doesn't want to play for Jamaica. And he's a young kid too. He's like 23, 24, something like that.
Why don't they want to play for Jamaica? What's the issue with that?
They just want to represent England.
Well, they're not representing England, that's for sure. That
I mean, in the back of their head. But you know, they're nowhere. England has like six guys they could select before him at the left back position, but he still doesn't want to represent Jamaica. Like, dude, you're not gonna.
So I think it's not. I think it's not wanting to play for England. It might be not wanting to play for Jamaica though, because I think even he would understand that he's not going to make it into the English team. So we have in Nigeria, we have the same kind of issue, right? Where we have a lot of Nigerian, English-born Nigerian guys that literally were born to Nigerian parents that grew up in Nigeria, but they oftentimes end up choosing to either wait to play for England, but they actually usually play for England in the under the youth teams, on the 17, on the 19, on the 21 and whatnot, on the 23. And then when they get to the point where it's time to get called up, they wait. Nigeria wants them. They don't want to come. We highlighted a couple of those guys, Berichi Z, whatever. But those guys end up getting wasted, man. Their careers get wasted.
Tammy Abraham. Look at Tammy Abraham. Look what's happening to him.
He's still young.
He can't play for Nigeria anymore, and England has used him.
Why he can't play? He has too many caps.
He already played enough too many matches for England.
And then they locked him in, and he'll never play again.
Never play for Nigeria.
Never play again.
Fikayo Tomori, that plays center back for AC Milan, same thing. Definitely, that one hurts a little bit because we definitely could have used him.
Yeah,
center back. And
who does Hudson-Odoi represent, Chris?
Ghana. Ghana took him though.
But he didn't play in the World. Did he play in the World Cup?
No, he didn't play in the World Cup. But I think he submitted his stuff late.
Too late.
Too late. Yeah, but he could definitely get in the Ghanaian squad now.
Oh, of course. Any of those guys we're talking about will walk into any of those. I mean, let's just keep it real. They'll walk into any of those countries.
But where's Hudson-Odoi playing now? He hasn't featured for Chelsea.
In Germany.
The couple of guys that ended up playing or choosing. So the way Nigeria likes to do it is, and I think this should be the way, we shouldn't beg these guys to come play for us. This guy should make up their mind. If you don't make up your mind by a certain time, then we should just move on.
But what I'm saying is, what do you think is chasing these guys away from it? Because I'm sure it's not the money.
It's the organization.
Exactly.
Organization. So, some guys don't want to be traveling that far.
You know what, Wayne? I think it depends on the household you grew up in. And I say that because in some Nigerian households, everything they hear about Nigeria is negative. They say forget that place. there's this, there's that. They don't even want to take the kids back there, right? But so if you grow up in that kind of household and you become a very successful footballer at a young age, how's your parent that's told you all these bad things about this place going to turn around and tell you to go play for that national team?
So,
you
Boma,
think
let me
the
ask you
older
this:
folks?
what's the benefit for
Do you
playing
think the
for?
older folks will really distill that in their kids, though?
I'm telling you, man. Like, look, there's some. If you're in some Nigerian households, some parents overseas, abroad,
Yeah,
overseas,
abroad. Yeah. So
yeah,
we say
yeah,
England and America.
yeah, England
You
and
go.
America, yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Listen, I've been in those households. Like, you can't even bring up Nigeria. They'll oh man, that place is so corrupt. Forget it. It's this, So if they're saying that in front of their children every day, only highlighting all the negative about the country, I don't say anything positive about the country. If that
yeah,
child grows up and becomes successful at a sport, that child is not going to want to play for that country.
yeah. They're not going back to their roots.
You've indoctrinated negativity about that country in the child's mind.
I think that's definitely a factor, but I don't think that's the main factor. I think the main factor is the exposure for the player. Like,
Yeah,
I'll say if you look at a guy like Alex Iwobi, that made what Bomor is saying made a difference in him choosing Nigeria, because Iwobi chose Nigeria when he was 17 years old. He said, "I'm playing." He said it. "I'm playing for Nigeria." At that age, he made that decision.
So I think that was
Even
his choice.
came on the field as a 17-year-old. Like, rarely you see any Super Eagle players that are really 18 starting matches. He started a World Cup qualifier at 18 years old against Zambia on the road and played well. But obviously his uncle was JJ Okocha. His daddy played professional football in Nigeria too. So he was actually born in Nigeria. A lot of people don't know that. But he represented England at youth level. But said
He likes to eat abacha.
He said, yes, I'm playing for Night. So I think that one is one clear case of a household determining your future. But for the rest of the guys, it's exposure. Like, why do they even choose to play for countries that the parents birth? It doesn't necessarily have to do with all. It's just more like which country will give me the best chance for exposure on the international stage.
yeah.
Now,
Who will go deep? Who will make a better run in the World Cup?
No, exactly. Not
I
even
think that
necessarily
has
a
something
better.
to do with it as well.
Wayne,
Which
not
team is the
necessarily
better? If you
not
have the option
necessarily a better run, because again, not to insult Jamaica, but I think there's levels, right? Jamaica is not on the same level as Nigeria in the football world. Nigeria is not on the same level as England in the football world. And Nigeria might be closer to England than Jamaica is to Nigeria. So you can see that the gap between England and Jamaica is huge. So these guys are like, why do we want to go play for a country that maybe not so good? They're playing against. Now, look at the teams that Jamaica plays in the freaking CONCACAF, man.
Let's use ranking. Let's use ranking as a better term. England is ranked way higher, and Nigeria is ranked way higher than Jamaica.
Right. So, if I'm trying to get exposure, playing for Jamaica doesn't raise my profile. All right.
Nah.
So, however, if you look at a guy like Eberechi Eze, I think right now he's good, and he thinks he's good enough to play for England. Right. So he's saying, let me hold out to play for England, because hey, if I play for England, my stock goes way higher. I'm going to get sold to better teams because I'm an English international as opposed to being a Nigerian international. But if England doesn't come for me when I'm 25, 26, and I realize the jig is up with England, I might choose Nigeria. It's not a bad fallback. But a lot of these guys aren't choosing Jamaica as a fallback, is rather because it's a lot of work to play international football, man. The travel, especially if you're coming from Europe all the way to South
is Nigerian
to America. Yeah, he is. Same with Olise in Crystal Palace too. Those are two guys we want to play for us because they play positions that we are lacking in. The central midfield position. Midfield is where Nigeria is lacking right now.
But those are Crystal Palace two top players.
Yeah, they're two top players. But here's the thing, though. Mike, you and I know, what are the odds that England is going to call Olise and Eberechi Eze to come and play for them?
Well, you can't say that. There's because of their age and how they're playing. And you look at Olise. Olise is like
they won't get called, bro.
At the start of the season, you would say Eze was higher than Olise. But I think as the season has gone around, Olise is Crystal Palace's best player. There's
But
no
they
doubt
won't get
about it.
called though.
But
But I'm saying,
play for Crystal Palace. Do you think they'll get the call up? And look at who they're competing against.
but what I'm saying
Exactly.
is,
You got to
what
look
I'm
at
saying,
who they
guys, hold on. What I'm saying is, Olise is 21 years old. Crystal Palace is not the be all end all. He can get a
Saka
transfer
is
to a
21
better
years
team.
old.
Well,
Saka is 21
let me finish
years
my
old.
point, bro. Let me finish my point.
Yeah.
Olise is 21 years old.
Uh-huh.
This is his second season in the Premier League. So he's not looking at Crystal Palace as a place where he's going to end up. He's looking like, I'm going to use Crystal Palace as a stepping stone to a better team. So in fact, in his mind, he's probably thinking I can go to a top 16. And when I go to a top 16, I'll get a call up for England. Are you telling me England cannot use Olise, right? Like, or they can't use Eze in about 4 years' time?
Well,
Probably
let
not.
me ask you the positions.
Probably not.
Who are they competing against? Who are the players currently occupying this position in the England squad? Bellingham.
Okay,
right?
Bellingham.
Saka.
Saka is on the wide, so Olise is. I guess you could put Olise on the wide.
Olise plays out to the right, right?
Yeah, they clean right out there.
They play him on the right side. They play him.
But he's a midfielder, Sha. They just put him on the wide to fit him into the team because they can't put him and Eze in the same position at the same time.
No, but remember they got this guy.
Phil Foden. What about Phil Foden?
Phil Foden is also a wide player.
Yeah,
but I guess you can put him in the mix.
No, I think he's. Foden. You naming the guys he's competing against, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what he's doing.
So if you look at that picture, right? It's one of those things that they have to consider. How long do you want to wait? Like if you're a striker right now, if you're a forward, right, and you have to compete against Harry Kane, what is the likelihood that you're going to get that English call?
Exactly, Michael.
You know what I mean?
Michael, you got to understand. In the Euro, Southgate has Rashford and Sancho. They came on in extra time.
Sancho didn't even go to the World Cup, bro. Sancho is not even playing.
No, I'm just saying in the Euro. What I'm saying.
Euros. Yes, I'm sorry.
These are players that went but still didn't get game. You got to remember these guys are competing against these guys.
Yeah, but I don't think that's an apt comparison because Sancho was 18 years old at the time. You know what I mean? Like Sancho was not the Sancho that you thought of the next year after. He was still at that time. He was still in Germany, still developing. So it was the right decision to keep him on the bench at that time. There was nothing wrong with that. He was still young. Sancho is not playing football right now. We talked about Foden. He hasn't played much since the World Cup came back from the World Cup because he's been out of form. So if I'm Olise, I'm looking at that. I'm like, I can compete again. If I'm Olise, I can compete with these guys. Olise has every reason to think he can make it to the English squad. Now, Eberechi Eze is the one guy where I'm like, maybe not. Just because even though he's a baller, like we see him as a baller, he's not necessarily in the style of the English national team. I think he'll be more useful. He'll fit more into the Nigerian style than the English style. But he wants to play for England. And the question is why? And I'm telling you guys why.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
England is a higher profile.
Yeah, that's the point we're trying to get to.
So based on that question, let me go to Zub, who just joined us.
Zubi,
are you available to get your thoughts on why these guys want to play for England over Nigeria? He might have stepped away, so we'll come back to him. But yeah, go ahead.
But that is what we're saying. You know, if the competition is so high, I mean, the reward is not going to be. The reward is not going to be rewardable for you. So I mean,
but I don't think they're looking at it as that high though. That's the point I've just made. That Olise is looking at that again. He's 21. Olise is looking at that squad and saying, in 2-3 years, if my progression goes like it's been going, I'll be called up to the English national team. And don't forget, Olise also has a chance to play for France and for Algeria.
Who you support in the Premier League, Michael?
I don't support any teams. I just root for Nigerian players or African players. I don't really have a team that I root for.
Okay. So do you think Olise could walk into the England side over Saka and Rashford right now?
Not today. But again, you're missing my point if you're still asking me that question. Olise is looking at himself and saying, compared to where I was last year to where I am right now and how I'm progressing. But don't forget, he came from League One 2 seasons ago. That's where he was at. He was tearing up League One 2 seasons ago. He came from there and has been progressing. looking at his progression, you can rightfully say that he has every confidence that if he gets to the point where he thinks he can get to, that he'll get called up by England.
But who
And
do
if
you
he
guys,
doesn't get called up by England, he has
who do you
time to
guys-
say Nigeria. We're not there. Let me play for you guys
So
Who
we're
do
the
you guys
fall,
think
we're,
will
we're the
blossom?
fallback.
Yeah.
at 24.
Who do you guys think will blossom, the Olise or Ebereze?
Olise, because Olise has more end product.
I think Eze.
I like
but
Eze,
we
though.
don't know. I can't say you're wrong. I can't say you're right.
I like Eze too.
I like
Eze
Eze better.
is more of a direct player. All he says is more skillful.
Yes.
Yeah,
To
GB,
me,
what,
Olise
what,
has-
GB, what do you think about the reason why these young guys, a lot of
Yeah,
them
I mean-
coming up? Look at Noni Madueke that played for Chelsea today.
That played for
right?
Chelsea today. Yeah. But
That's another guy.
He came from PSG, right? So I don't want to. We are talking about the guys in England generally. Okay, so first of all, what I think the problem is exactly is the management of Nigerian football.
Thank you.
That is what it is. Yeah, I agree with the popularity. Yeah, because England is really high, but the management of Nigerian football is the main problem. These guys just feel there's no way they can go to a country where they don't even show any sign of improvement. They don't care about the game. They don't really care. But all they do is corruption and all that. So they just feel, why am I going to play for Nigeria when playing for Nigeria does not give me any recognition? Nigeria don't even want to improve. We just talked about stadiums. We only have 2 approved stadiums in that country. How do I want to go play for that country when I can play in England where almost every city has 5 stadiums? If you get what I mean. So I believe it's Nigerian football management for real.
Do you think for a player who's on the fringes, playing for England is more beneficial for his career than playing for Nigeria?
Of course it is.
On the fringes, though, not a guy who's
I'll tell you what. Look at the England squad, right? You play in England. You play for the national team, even if you're playing on the bench. A team like a mid-table team in Premier League is coming for you. You're a national team player. It is not something like you're playing for Nigeria where Portsmouth is signing you or Bolton is coming to sign you.
So, you're a national team player leaving a top team in Belgium to come for a relegation-bound team.
I'm playing in England. I don't want to go out of England. I mean, you play. Look at what is happening in the Premier League this season. Teams like Fulham, teams like Newcastle. They used to be the mid-table
mid-table.
Yeah, mid-table team. So look at the way they are playing this season. It's because of the way the English league is. There's this competition. It keeps everybody improving. I would now leave that the competition in England national team and go play for Nigeria. Nah, it doesn't sound right.
And
But do you guys think
GB, another thing too, and sorry, my bad, Wayne.
You go.
So this is another thing too that people don't seem to recognize. When you play one match for England's national team, you have a pension. There might be a certain number of matches you could play to qualify for pension for England, and you're taken care of for the rest of your life.
Yep.
You play for Nigeria. Do they even have a pension thing in Nigeria? Guys get injured, they don't even call them back. You understand? So
I remember.
Those things matter. We might sit back here and say, "Oh, these guys make a lot of money, so it doesn't." It matters. It matters. Like if you're a professional, you want to get the bonuses. Don't get paid. These guys played in the 2019 African Cup of Nations. It wasn't until sometime last year that we think they got their bonuses. I know one of the players complained that he didn't get his bonuses. The goalkeeper, the home base goalkeeper, Noble, and the NFF said, "It's because your bank account information you gave us was incorrect." And he said, it's the same bank information I've been giving you guys before. So what's that? And they even sent Ahmed Musa to even open his mouth and say the guy's banking. You see what I'm saying? Like just a lot of mago and wuru. Right? So why? Those are things. When you see guys that choose to play for Nigeria, like William Truce Ekong, who in their right mind was going to pick William Truce Ekong to play for Holland? He was never had a chance. So
Yeah.
he dedicated himself to Nigeria. Balogun, the Leon Balogun, he was already almost 30. He was in his late. Well, actually, that's not true. Balogun decided to play for Nigeria in his early 20s, but Balogun was never playing for Germany now. So he knew that from day one. So Nigeria was the only option he had. So he chose.
So
and those guys have been dedicated.
So Mike, let me ask you this. So what does that say about us, though?
It says what we know it says. So there's no.
I mean, like if we are only taking players that are rejects from other countries to come start for us in a country where we have 200 million people, over 60% is under the age of 25, tropical weather, millions of natural athletes, but we have to take rejects from Belgium and France and everywhere else.
Yeah, but Mr. Bowman, you're looking at it from that perspective. These players are already in established teams. They're, if I'm a coach, I'll rather pick a player that plays for Crystal Palace, for example, than go back to Nigeria and pick the superstar in one of the local clubs. Because it shows that they're getting proper training, they're getting a little bit of more standardized approach.
Yeah, those guys are ready. They're ready to go.
So those guys are already established, and they're working with a team. They're working with established corporations that can actually, provide a little bit of better results. So I do get your perspective, but as a coach, you also have to look at what you have. If I have a player in Crystal Palace, I'm more likely going to pick that player than a superstar in, I don't know, what's the teams in Nigeria now. So you have to look at it that way as well. And as a player, I think some of these younger players that are not fully established are hindering themselves from not playing for Nigeria because World Cups, like we just bought Enzo Fernandez because of how he did in the World Cup. He became the highest paid player in Europe. Like playing in these competitions are going to showcase you to other clubs that could potentially increase your stock. So national teams don't really pay money that much, unless if you're a poorer player. But like players like Eze and all of those guys, they might not want to come to Nigeria because they want to play in England, but they're not going to pick them in England until they get on Manchester United, for example. So it's kind of a pretty interesting way of analyzing it. But at the end of the day, players have to do what's best for them. But I don't want to look at them as rejects per se.
Thank you. And I was going to say that too.
That weren't picked.
Let me ask you a question.
In the middle, I didn't mean to, interrupt.
No. But you bring up a good point. No, you bring up a good point, and I want to ask you a question based on that point you brought up, right?
Yes, sir.
You said that a coach is going to pick players that are already established, playing in the Belgiums, the Frances, the Englands, those teams that have
big
academies.
Five. We can use the big five.
But remember, if you remember, our golden generation of players, right, came from a crop of players, right, that were primarily developed in Nigeria, and in a lot of cases were selected from Nigeria. Westerhoff identified and picked Kanu before he went to Ajax.
True.
George Finidi was playing for Sharks of Port Harcourt before he went to Ajax, right? Samson Siasia, the list goes on and on. Yakubu Ayegweni was playing for Julius Berger. So
Yakubu, first of all, Yakubu wasn't part of our golden generation. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I'm saying, like, you know what I mean, like, in terms of
when there's no corruption in football in Nigeria, where integrity is important, where I pick the best players to represent the country. Now you have coaches that get bribes to put players in. So
it's always been like that. It's always been like that.
Uh-huh.
No, it hasn't always been like that, Chris. That's not true. And also to follow up with Boma's question, the error, it's not the same.
I interrupted him, so sorry, sir. You finished the point. There was a point you were trying to make earlier before I started talking again.
So are you talking to me?
No, Mr. Boma.
Boma.
Something. And
no. I asked you the question, and you answered it with a very valid point, which is that.
But I want to add to that, Boma. Sorry.
Wait, give me 1 second. He made a very valid point in that when we picked all those players from Golden Generation, what he said, it was based on skill and credibility with the ball. Now they're paying coaches to pick players. We saw Salisu used to take money on camera, right? Mm-hmm. And Salisu Yusuf is still coaching the home-based Eagles today.
Yep.
Right? That says it all. But go ahead, Mike.
To go to your point about that golden generation era, and I think that's actually one of the things that's really hurting Nigeria right now is that we're still going back. Oh, the golden generation, this is how they did it. Remember, that was a completely different era, right? And back in those days, teams didn't know about these players from Africa. Our league was a well-functioning league at that time. Like, people used to show up to watch matches. I remember going to stadiums to watch Enugu Rangers. The stadium be packed. Like, at the gate before you enter, there could almost be stampedes. That's how packed people used to go watch matches. The FA Cup, what they used to call the Challenge Cup matches back in the day, man, between Abiola Babes and Ranchers Bees or Kaduna, Kano, Maiduguri, El Kanemi of Maiduguri. All our national team players were spread out. It's not like we had only 2 or 3 teams that all the players. Let me mention Enugu Rangers, Ranchers Bees or Kaduna, Wanyamu National of Owerri, Port Harcourt Sharks, Bendel Insurance, Leventis United, Shooting Stars of Ibadan, El Kanemi of Maiduguri,
New Nigerian Bank.
What's the team from Cross Rivers? Man,
Calabar Rovers.
Everybody had teams where players were on those teams. When you watch those matches, you finish with. We didn't watch there was no Premier League at the time now. But so when the competitions that really highlighted those players were the African Cup of Nations, right? Back then, when you played the African Cup of Nations, that's when you see all the stars of Africa. But scouts would come in because that's your chance to see them. It's not the same anymore. Our leagues, well, at least Nigeria's league has been depleted. Where I said this a long time ago. If we have a player that's played 3-4 years in Nigerian league, he's not good. Not good. I don't want him on the Super Eagles. Most of our players, if you look at their profile, did not play 1 minute in the Nigeria Football League. Very few of them. Most of them by 18.
Academies. Yeah, they're gone.
Out. You see what I'm saying? So to Zoob's point, our national team players, our best players go abroad, and they go abroad early. So there's no picking guys from the local team. We're going to get guys that are from those. And Zoob said something else I agree with. I want to emphasize too, and it's just touching on Bomo. These aren't rejects necessarily. These are guys that weren't picked. There's levels to these things now. We're ranked 43rd in FIFA rankings. England is ranked number 3, 4, or 5. It's no even if we've got our players from Nigeria, it still will be on the level. You understand? The level of number 43. They're not world-class players. Even the guys we had back in the days were good, were not world-class players. They just were a team that had been built.
But this is the central point, right? In that we have all the ingredients, right? Even if they don't end up playing in the Nigerian league and they go abroad, wait a second. Even if they don't end up playing in the Nigerian league and they go abroad at the age of 17 or 18, we have all the ingredients. You know when you want to bake a cake, you get the butter, you get the flour, you get the eggs, you get the milk, you make a cake. We have all the ingredients to make the perfect cake. You see what I'm saying? In the sense that we have.
I disagree, bro.
Let me make the point. We have the athletes. We have the weather. We can establish the training facilities. Wait. So we look. It's not a coincidence, right? That we're talking about all these players, whether it's Noni Madueke, Eberechi, Olise, the list goes on and on of all these kids that happen to grow up in an environment where they were able to nurture their talent. And these guys are doing well on the global stage. We have all the talent necessary, right? But we don't have the pieces in place to build and develop the talent that we need to. And I'll give you an example, right? Cuba, and I did a piece on Cuba. Cuba produces the best boxers on this planet, right? Cuba has an embargo. They can't trade with any other country in the world. They take their athletes and they have some of the best baseball players on this planet. Countries with 10 times the resources don't produce the baseball players Cuba produces. They don't produce the boxers Cuba produces. So we have everything we need to create the kind of players that you see in La Liga or in France. We do.
But I disagree because it's not just about skill and athletic ability. You have to train them from day one.
That's my point. Is that we have the ingredients, but we need to take that ingredients. And Wayne, you're from Jamaica. I saw a special about where Usain Bolt trains in Jamaica. And you know what his coach said? He said, I've gotten money and offers from sponsors to make this a world-class gym and facility, and I've refused. He said, I leave it hot, I leave it run down. Usain Bolt trains in this and he breaks world records. Because I want to set a point. I want to make a point. And that point has been made.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing I'm saying about Nigeria is that we complain about all these other things. Oh, we don't have a world-class facility. But you look at countries that don't have anything and they're producing world-class athletes.
But but football is different. And those countries that produce the best players have the best facilities. Brazilians have facilities. Yeah, they learn their skills on the street first. But when it comes time to be professionals, they take them at young ages, put them in academies and train them up and to play for those local teams before they go into professional, before they sell into Europe. Argentina, the same thing. Nigeria, a problem, if you look at players who claim they're 18 years old, by the time they go to Europe, they have to break them down completely. The techniques are terrible. The touch is terrible.
The coaching
they don't know how to make decisions on the ball.
The coaching is bad. That's why.
Mike.
Well, that's the thing. So when you say perfect, when you say we have the perfect ingredients, I disagree with you because if you want to make a cake, hang on. If you want to make a cake, you got to have. Yeah, you want to use flour, but the flour you grow in the wrong grass is not going to taste the same as the flour grown. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to have the right environment.
Mike, let me explain to you. The analogy you're using is wrong. If you want to bake a cake, you take all the ingredients, right? But if the chef is bad.
Well, there's more than one thing. There's more than
my point.
Ingredients alone doesn't make the cake. Ingredients alone don't make the cake. If you take same chef, let's take the same chef. You get your material from Whole Food markets. I don't know if you guys have that in Canada, but you lived in America, so you know Whole Foods. Yeah. Or you get your ingredients from some rundown supermarket, or you get them from the farmer's market. Same chef, the cake is not going to come out the same, or the meal is not going to come out the same.
Mike,
so
I think
Go ahead.
I think what Bomber is saying, he's right, because this whole argument stemmed from we trying to say having the English-based players come to Nigeria or come to Jamaica. Now, you and I know that if you guys, Mike, if you get all the players you want from the top 5 league, you could be the coach and bring this team to a certain level in any competition right now. You get what I'm saying? So when he's saying that the ingredients is there, it is there because these kids are being trained in the best facilities in the world.
He's talking about ingredients inside Nigeria, not outside Nigeria. He's talking about the ingredients inside Nigeria, and that's where I'm saying the ingredients. Although that's the first thing we have to stop saying, that we have the world beaters. But we don't produce the best players until they leave Nigeria.
Oh, sorry. We also
go ahead.
Between talent and having a formal approach to football. Like me, I went to Bowling Green, Ohio, with my brother here in Ohio. I had soccer talent, but I didn't have the skills of what it was actually required. I can dribble, but can you cross those balls? Can you follow a team format? So a lot of players in Nigeria sure has great talent, great skills,
but they don't have that exactly. And these guys in England,
formal training to kind of really,
right?
Yeah, these guys in England have the best coaches.
Bingo. That is the point I'm making. And I liken the coach to the chef. You're missing my analogy, Mike. What I'm saying is the coach is the chef. The ingredients are what the other items you use to mold into the cake. It's like a sculptor, right? A sculptor you get him a rock. If he has a very nice rock, he chips away the rough edges and he comes up with a great portrait or whatever it is you want to call it, right? So in Nigeria, you have the guys that are naturally fast, strong. The weather is perfect. We have terrible coaches. I will admit that, right?
Terrible
but by the time we start having to pick guys to play for the national team, right? By the time we want to pick guys to play for the national team, if you now say, let's go to Nigeria, let's go to England. At that point, we're not talking about coaches anymore. We're talking about the ingredients now because they've been molded or whatever the case may be. Yes. The Nigerian players in the Nigerian league they're not comparable to the players, whether
outside of the Nigerian league
or foreign born players, whichever the case may be, that have gone to Europe and been molded. So yes, we may. So what I'm saying is the ingredients I'm looking at. I think that's the difference in perspective. What we're talking about. I'm talking about the ingredients when it's time to pick them. Where do you pick them from? From Nigeria or from Europe?
Yeah.
And
From
quite
Europe.
frankly, our players, by the time if they're at the age or the level to be picked by the national team, just not. They're not
Yeah,
good.
But Mike,
and I
Mike,
think we're talking
And I
about.
agree with the reasons for those
Mike, what
reasons
I'm
that
saying,
you mentioned.
Mike,
Yes.
every country, this is what every country is doing now. They're developing the younger players and then they're shipping them to Europe,
We're
right?
not developing the younger players
So,
though.
okay, so Leon Bailey,
And that is the point I'm making.
Leon
That's what I'm
Bailey,
saying, yeah.
Leon Bailey, that's at Aston Villa right now. He
Good
was
player.
developed a little bit in Jamaica. Then him and his dad, I don't know if you guys know the story. They moved to Europe. It was the same thing. What Ryan Sterling's story was different. The mom migrated to England and he took soccer up, and he was good at it at Liverpool. Yada 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 yada. But this is the thing. This is the business. This is what's going on now. Even in the United States, they are developing the kids from 12 years old before they hit 18, and they want them to go to Europe. They want to ship them off. They want them to go over there in the academy, Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, any academy, and then you could come back. But what I'm saying is now, before we get to this point, before we get to them having it as a business aspect of everybody doing it as a business thing, is there any glitch in the system where like Eze or Olisic or I've been brainwashed to the fact where they're saying, hey, I don't want to go back and represent Nigeria because I'm so stuck on the chance that I could play for England. I was bred here. I was trained this way. I know soccer this way, and I don't want to take it outside of the country. Is it there? Guys are saying into his ears, hey, you might get a call up. Hold on. Don't reach out to your roots or whatever the case may be. We don't know what is being told at the club or whenever they go out or whatever the case may be. That's making them not make this decision to come back and play for Nigeria or Jamaica, to a point where when I remember the other day when Antonio came to play to Jamaica, he came down on a private jet. West Ham sent him down there on a private jet. They send him with 2 or 3 assistants, I think. And the funny thing is, the assistants, they walk the pitch before he played. So if their decision was like, yo, this pitch is too bad for you to play, he would have tell the coach, yo, not play him or play 10 minutes. Like, how can a club, which that's beyond the point still, but what I'm saying is they have so much control over certain things that we don't know what they're being told in England. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're being bred and molded in England. We want them to come and represent us because they're playing at the highest level. It's one of the most competitive and the toughest league in the world. And, we want to see these guys in our colors. Yes, we do. But we don't know what is going on in the back door, what they're being told. You know what I'm saying? Or how they have been bred and trained to this level of competitiveness in their life. So
yeah, completely agree with you, Wayne. Completely agree with you. And I think the summary of all of this, if I had to just say something real fast about that summary, is that it's more than one factor. And there's one other thing that we also not, and that's what you summarize in essence. You summarize all the different factors that could be responsible for them not wanting to come, whether it's they're looking out for their careers, what's best for their careers. But the other part of it that I don't think we talk about enough, these guys were born in England.
That is true.
They were born in England.
That is true.
Or they probably feel more English than Nigerian. And
Nigerian, yeah.
Omar was saying, it depends on the household. Yes and no, to a certain extent. Yes, the way your parents raised you may matter, but you got to remember you spend more time outside of your household when you're growing up than inside. You're in school with your friends. You're growing up in a system. The way you feel, yes, you might be Nigerian. You might interact with a lot of Nigerians and Jamaicans. You go to all the parties and everything, but really you're growing up in England. The English national anthem. That's all you know. Some of them can't even sing the Nigerian national anthem self, so at the end of the day, you're asking somebody to go represent that country, but it's like, but I'm American. And I'm English,
it still goes back to
right?
what Bummer. It still goes back to what Bummer say though. It's still appearance because I mean it's their job to send them over there on summer breaks and stuff like this. Keep them close to their roots. Let them know what home really is.
A lot of them do that, but still end up
Question:
choosing
What did you
to play
think?
for
What
England.
did you guys think Morocco did different in this last World Cup? Almost 80% of their players, they just have Moroccan descent, but they're not from Morocco. Ziyech is not Moroccan. He doesn't live there. Parents are. Literally, I think 80% of their players just has Moroccan
So a couple
parents.
of things.
So how are they
to
able
your
to do
point,
this? And Nigeria
what's
can't.
his
That's the
Mike?
question.
You know this. What's his name that plays for PSG? Hakimi.
Yeah,
Hakimi could have played. Hakimi could have
Spain.
played for Spain.
Right.
Perfect.
But he turned them down.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are they
This is the point. Yeah, this is the point I'm making. Right. So in Nigeria, listen, I know Nigerians who had their kids that were born here, and almost every summer, or not summer, but maybe now it's a little bit more difficult of the security situation. But at a point, they were taking their kids not just to Lagos, to the village. They were going down, and the people I even know, they're from the east. They were going straight to Anambra all the time, right? Maybe now it is easy because of the security. It's kind of calmed down a little. But those kids, when you talk to them, they tell you, "Hey, I'm Nigerian, born and raised in the U.S." Right? So there's a certain mentality that a kid develops growing up, even if they say, "Okay, yeah, I'm American," but they develop a certain affinity with that home country. And if the kid is an athlete, right, the kid will say, "Hey, this is who I want to represent." It comes down to, look at Hakimi, look at Ziyech. Those guys could have played for other countries. They chose not to. Yeah, they chose not to.
Yeah, those guys
Understand,
wanted to play.
Number one is I don't know if that's exactly if that was Zub was asking. I'm not really 100% sure of your question. Whether you're asking what did they do different for those guys to play for Morocco, or what did they do to be so good? So number one, you got to understand Morocco, Spain, right there to one another. Like literally, you can in less than 1 hour on the boat ride, you can be from Spain from Morocco to Spain to France, not far. Those countries are Morocco is basically a European African country. You know what I'm
they're borderline European. Yeah.
Right. So they even applied to be a part of Europe one time, I believe, and they got rejected. So it's not a fair comparison to look at that comparison between the Moroccans and
Nigeria.
And then the other thing too, if you think about the North Africans, they have a little bit of an inclusive mentality because of religion. They all have the same religion, one, and also they all speak the same language, Arabic. You know, like, and they also seem to suffer the same amount of persecution, such that when you go to France, they have a neighborhood that is Arab. You see what I'm saying? And not just Arab, it'll be like a Moroccan neighborhood, an Algerian neighborhood. So it's when these guys are in France, they're literally in Algeria still. And it's literally Morocco still. Even in England, Seth, if you go to like I don't know how many of you have been in England, Edgware Road. You just came from England.
Yeah, I was actually in Collindale, which is like a station, one stop from Edgware. So
okay, if you ever go back to England, just go to Edgware Road. Go there at nighttime at 3 a.m. in the morning. Everything else in all of England, London is closed. That's the only place open. It's all Arab. You just nothing but Arab stores. You can go get hookah. You can go sit there and drink their tea, eat, do whatever you want. It's all Arab and Lebanese people. So they keep their culture very insular, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? So it's a little bit different. Moroccans stay Moroccans. Nigerians, we also have that issue where even though we're in a country, we're not really one. You understand? It's like people are more Igbo, more Yoruba, more this than Nigerian. The tribe first in Nigeria than they are Nigeria first. While those guys
my brother, that's why we need Biafra. You know, we need
those guys are Moroccan first before anything else, Algerian first before anything else, Egyptian first for anything else. So and then you think about all those wars they fought with the colonial masters. Those guys take that personally, man. They will. It'll be hard for them. Guys like Benzema, it's hard. It's different that he played for France. Algerians are looking at him like, why you play for France? You know, and Zidane, why you play?
But I think all of this is stemming from the corrupted government in the football organization for these countries, because most of the other third world countries, they don't have these problems. Mexico, Chile, um, guys dying to play for these countries. They would rather go back home and play for their country than playing for England or whatever the case may be.
Very true.
Um,
Very true.
it's a difference with Jamaica and Nigeria. I can't wrap my head around. Unless Nigeria and Jamaica like literally, make it big globally on the soccer forefront, then we'll probably see the floodgate open where guys start to try to run in and want to play for the country and want to represent the country. But I mean, this happens with a lot of players because it happens with the Portuguese on the Portuguese side of things, Brazilians and Portugal as well. Some guys on the Spain side, but these countries are big countries. So if you decide to play for Portugal, it's like you're still playing for a top country. If you decide to play for Brazil, it's still a top country either way. So it's who wants to receive you more and where you really, 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 really want. It's just a difference when you actually introduce Nigeria into the argument or any country of Africa per se, and like a Jamaica or a Trinidad or one of these low level countries in South America. So Argentina don't have this problem. You got people running over there to Argentina. They're a third world country. It's just the same. Ecuador don't have these problems. All the Ecuadorian players to play for Ecuador. They're a third world country. So I think it stems with the corruption as you guys started.
I agree with you, Wayne. You're absolutely right on that.
Federation. These football, because most of these football federations, they're putting up a front and they're getting money from FIFA, and they're not making the football fraternity in the country feasible and pleasable to players when they come there. They're not treating them with love and respect just the same. I mean, we can't blame the players. It still goes back to the Football Federation, which is there in Jamaica, and I don't know the name of the Football Federation in Nigeria, but it still goes back to there. Because if we look at every other small country in the region, all their players represent their country and happy to represent their country. People are crying they don't make it to play for these countries. Chile, as I said, Argentina, Ecuador, and these countries are really poor countries.
And this goes back to the question I asked earlier. What's the benefit for a player who was born in England decided to go play for Nigeria? What's there?
Chris,
exposure, better exposure.
Yes. And Zub, thank you for saying that, because I actually will make one point here, and this might be the last thing I say about this topic, because I think we've beaten this down to Paul. But Nigeria, and I'll always go back to Nigeria. First of all, Wayne, no disrespect, but Nigeria is a known name in world football.
I'm not saying you're not.
No. I'm saying no disrespect to Jamaica or any other country. Nigeria is a big name in football. At least Africa, when you think of African football, we're one of the first countries you would
Ghana.
think, right? Like
Ghana comes to my mind when I think about
Nigeria. Well, whatever it is.
No, to be honest, I mean seriously, I'm not joking. I've been watching soccer for a long time. My African team is Ghana.
Yeah, no problem. I have no beef with you. But the point I'm trying to make here, if I can get this point across, is since
when Egypt won the African Club of Nations, I was like, where was Ghana? They said they beat Ghana.
That's sad. What Zoop said is exposure, right?
Brother, Nigeria don't succeed because of our own problems, but we have talented Nigerian grown players in Europe that can actually. I mean, look at Osihmen destroying Italy. Look at, and I can start naming players. It's just the internal Nigerian issue prevents us from being as successful as we should be. That's my take on it.
No, you're absolutely right, Zoo. But the point I'm trying to make here is before the 2018 World Cup, we rarely ever had foreign-based players, like foreign-born players, represent Nigeria, right? We had some of you, I don't know how old all of you are on this panel, but I see some grays, so I know you guys are close to me in age. Anyway, so we had Ruben Agola. You remember Ruben Agola?
Yep.
From the 92 Nations Cup. One of those first guys that actually was born abroad and came and represented us. Other than that, if you think about that, it's not too many that were born. I think maybe Shail Openjana. I can't remember it too many. But after the 2018 World Cup, we had an influx of players that were foreign born that either declared they wanted to play for Nigeria or we were pursuing them. Now that has something to do with, of course, with the rules that change a little bit to allow more players to be able to play in multiple national teams and on what. But you can't discount that jersey sale in 2018 World Cup when that jersey came out. That was the biggest hit in the 2018. Before the World Cup was the biggest story, that Nigerian jersey. Everybody wanted it. Nigerian team actually were attractive to watch. All of a sudden, guys that had Nigerian heritage that never thought about it decide, maybe I want to play for that country. And we're actually doing pretty well. But like Zub just mentioned, we self-sabotage a lot. And we found a way to self-sabotage that situation where it was, I think we were placed in a place where we could have just taken, if we managed that well, to take our football to the next level. But unfortunately, we're back to ground zero again.
Yeah, Zoo. So you joined us a little later, and what we're discussing is you mentioned Osihmen. What are your thoughts about him, his success level? Now, Osihmen is one of those guys, as we all know, was developed in an academy in Nigeria up until he was 17, played for Nigeria for the under 17, was the best player at under 17, then went to Wolfsburg. From Wolfsburg, ended up going to France, and then he's currently one of the most sought after forwards in all of Europe. What are your thoughts about him in Europe currently? In terms of ranking, is he one of the best forwards in all of Europe?
Well, I mean, I know his career has been, especially in Italy, he's had a lot of injuries, and but I'm glad he's slowly recovering from that perspective, right? He's your classic number 9. He's tall, strong, he has crazy pace. It kind of reminds me of Abramovich. Is it Abramovich? Well,
Ibrahimovic.
Yeah. So
to
me, he's an talent. And now, of course, I have my reservation about Italy as well. Compared to England, the teams are a little bit more faster, a little bit more stronger. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. Let's say if he, example, comes to England. But I regard him as a world class striker. And I'm just happy that he's finally finding his form and tearing things up.
Okay, yeah. Do you think when we start our campaign for AFCON and the qualifiers, we have games against Sudan or Mauritius or Cape Verde, that they should take Osihmen to go play in all these games, or do they just reserve him for the key games, kind of manage him, keep him fresher? Because of the travel involved in African football, the journeys are long and all that stuff. What are your thoughts about that?
I think if I'm a soccer player, I can only speak for myself. I don't want to sit on the bench. I want to play. I have to. Messi plays all games. He doesn't care if he has to go play in Qatar where there's sun and all that. So if you're a soccer player and you're representing your country, you have to play. You have to represent. But once again, going back what we talk about Nigerian players and Nigeria, how we sabotage ourselves. Even you can see a couple of World Cup games or qualifying games that the players are not trying hard enough because whether they don't want to get injured or. But to answer your question specifically, I personally think that if you're a soccer player and you're representing your country, you should play games. You should play all these games. I don't care if it's Sudan or whatever. Now, as a coach, the job of a coach is to strategically decide when to use a player. If you see a game that you feel like you can win, then you can maybe play other players. But personally, I believe that every player, if you're in the team, you should go wherever the team goes, and the coach's job is to then make a decision. But altogether, if I'm the coach, I will play my best players at every single game, unless if I don't have to, basically.
So you think we select our first 11, right? And in the entire qualifiers, we play that first 11 through the qualifiers into the tournament. Because another question I have for you is the depth of our squads. Because typically we become over reliant on certain players, and we lack depth moving forward. Do you think? And this is just a question. I just want to get your
Yes,
thought.
sir. Yeah.
Do you think it's if we just feature our first 11 all the time, it'll be a good way of building depth?
I mean,
with
of
our
course,
squad?
like I said, that's the job of a coach to kind of look in and say, okay, Osterman just came out of a serious injury. Maybe I should maybe sit him out and play other more important games. But if I'm the coach, well, Osterman being the best, absolutely, he's going to be there. He's going to train with the team. I will always take my best players to every game. Then, as a coach, I have to then make that decision. I mean, what's his name? Ian Williams. He plays. I mean, I think the last game he missed out. He's been playing for Atletico Madrid, or is it Atleti, whatever, for almost 7 seasons now. He hasn't
I
missed
think
a
like
game.
245
Yeah,
straight
it was
games
like
or something like that.
game
Yep.
for the first time. So as a coach, in a country where poverty, Nigeria, the only time that we have excitement in Nigeria is when we win in a Olympics. I was in Nigeria when we beat Brazil. That was the one time in my life that I remember my daddy's happy. We're out on the street celebrating. So the country is so poor that we get this little excitement from football, and that's one thing we have. So I will prioritize it. I will prioritize my best players, because when he goes back to Italy, they play him in all the games. They want him to win. Play your best.
And Zub, this question was asked, or we talked about this earlier, and the thing I mentioned was that, hey, come on, why are we even bringing that up? Mbappe plays against Faroe Islands when they're playing the European qualifiers too. So look, you got to play your best players. That's what everything you said was pretty much on par with what I think the general, at least I know what I was talking about. Like, look, players play. You can't tell players, oh. And then also, these games, there's only so many national team games. You got to build your national team. So actually, I want to address a couple of things you mentioned. You were saying, oh, our first 11. Well, that's the reason why you have these FIFA rankings, why we're ranked number 43 in the world, while other teams are ranked number 5 or 3, because their depth is much stronger than ours, obviously. But you also can't say, oh, this team is not as good, so I shouldn't play this player, because you're doing two things. One, you're building that mentality in a team that you can overlook a team, which is very dangerous. How many times have we lost to Central African Republic, for God's sake, in Lagos not too long ago? We gave up 4 goals, a 4-goal lead against Sierra Leone not too long ago. So, and with our best players on the field, that's one. And the other thing too is those are, even if it's teams that aren't that great, that's still an opportunity for your team to blend. You can't miss that opportunity to blend these teams. How many times have we talked about, oh, they look like they don't have any cohesion because they're not playing together enough. A good coach, especially a national team coach, knows his first 11 and first 16. Outside of that, you can tinker with those players to add to the squad and bring in, bring out, bring in. But for the most part, you don't want to change that too much. Also, you lose that cohesion going into a tournament or whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, interesting, because different coaches have different perspectives. No, we're talking about if you have a squad of a pool of players, in order to identify your first 11 and build up a depth chart for your squad. Do you play your best players at every game? Yes, you want to win, so it'll make sense to try to play the best guys so you can get the W. But
club level or international level?
International level, not club level. At the same time, do you also manage your best players? So the tournament you're
I think it was asking the tournament you're trying to qualify for. Basically, the thing we were talking about was like a guy like Vitor Osihmen.
It's an interesting thing.
Okay.
You see, you see different styles. Some coaches. I remember the U.S. coach that was managing Christian Pulisic at one time.
Captain America.
Trying to manage him into a tournament. I think it was the Gold Cup. So you see different coaches employ different skills or different
strategies.
methods.
Yeah, different strategies, tactics.
Yeah, some were like, hey, I'm playing this guy every game. I don't care. Leading up, some are like, okay, let's manage this guy. Okay, this game Osihmen starts. This game Moffitt starts. This game this guy will just go in. I have the squad to qualify. I know we're going to beat this guy, so I manage them accordingly. But it all depends. I think it comes down to the coach's philosophy and the kind of guy.
Sometimes you got to understand it's the only hope these coaches have playing their best players. Because besides from not playing their best players, they don't stand a chance of winning a game.
Yes, and those are the teams that don't have depth, right? You have zero depth. If thankfully Nigeria isn't one of those teams, I could say we should be able to beat most of the teams in Africa, even if Osihmen doesn't start for us. We should be. We should be. Doesn't mean we will. We have players that can come in and make things happen on their
but
day.
Bomo, I don't think we're at that level where we can afford to be saying we shouldn't play our best players. There's no country in the world that will not play their best players first. I don't care who they are. Brazil will always put out their best 11 first. Now, if they qualify for the tournament, then they might bring in other guys to play. But there's no top team in the world that will not put their best players on the field first, with all things being equal.
On the contrary, if you watch Brazil in qualifiers for like any one of these tournaments, if you look at their squads, it's rotated. When they get into the tournament, you see a standing squad moving forward. And the reason why I'm asking this question is really a question, it's not a stance. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because the African travel and games being played are very different. You see what I'm saying? And some coaches don't care. Some coaches are like, hey, that's what it is. We saw Stephen Keshi bringing guys we had never heard of that became... No.
Keshi was collecting bribe now. We know this.
Come on.
We know it's out there. There's not. I don't want to talk bad about a dead man. But as much good as he did as much bad for Nigerian football too.
I said it. I said it's been like this for years. And
yes, now and then the other part too. Like Brazil can rotate the squad because their quality is much better. So when they bring in their second 11, it's almost as good as their first 11. While Nigeria's second 11 is not almost as good as their first 11, so that's not a good comparison. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you look at Brazil, even the guys that are bringing in to rotate are still the top. They're still putting the squad out there that is a quality squad to defeat the opponent. You're not going to see them do that against Argentina when they play. They might do that against Bolivia when they already have a 6-point gap and they know they're going to qualify with 2 matches left. They will rotate. Brazil plays the best team as if available all the time.
All the time, even if it comes with friendly matches.
The friendly matches, they will put their best all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about rotating. They don't rotate their players. The ones they rotate are still good enough to start.
Boma, you remember a few years ago,
they rotate their top players.
Boma, you remember a few years ago, you got me an ESPN pass when Nigerian national team came to Jacksonville, Florida to play the U.S. We got beat 3-0.
2-1. It wasn't 3-0. It was 2-1. But yes,
2-1.
That stadium.
2-1. I'm sorry. This was
was he there with us?
But he had a pass, so he went into the locker. He met the players.
Listen.
Wait, you gave him that pass, and you and I went to the game. We didn't have to pass.
Hold on. Both got me a pass.
Chris, I beg.
Let Chris.
This one, that pass was small. Hold on. You and I were inside that stadium. We traveled all the way from Tampa. I came all the way from California.
Bro,
what's the match? Chris, you don't stand a chance. This is my holiday.
My brother, that game, I was so hurt at that game because I looked at the team, the U.S. team that beat the Nigerian national team was not up to par at all. We had people like Altador for U.S. terrorizing the Nigerian defenders.
He made Yobo look stupid.
He made Yobo, and this is the thing. Another thing that pissed me off with that game, Stephen Keshi, Boma, if you didn't know this, I'll tell you this from experience. Stephen Keshi and Mikel Obi had an issue. They had issues before they flew to that game. To the point, Mikel left them in Tampa. He left them in Jacksonville, and he flew separately to Brazil. I remember this. They had some issues. My point is this: the players Keshi put on the team that day, I didn't even know who these guys were, and they embarrassed us.
Was that the B team or the A team, Chris?
He didn't put on.
Is it the B or the A team?
No, but a lot of those guys ended up playing. So I remember that. So me and Boma went to that match. So we drove 3 hours from Tampa to that match, and me and him had a bitter argument on our way back because I was telling him this: we don't have world-class players. Our players aren't good enough. And he was arguing with me that, oh, our players are really good. We have war. I was like, just no, man. Just look at the players. Let's be objective. Let's not use our Nigerian hats. There's only one player on that squad that maybe at the time would have been considered somewhat of a top quality player, and that was the guy you just mentioned. That was Mikel Obi. Everybody else was either average or below average. And then on top of that, Keshi brought in some very baffling Michael Babatunde.
Yes.
He had Uche Nwafor.
Yes.
He had Chola Obi. Those are guys he took to the Juwan Lashiwan or whatever his name is. Oshaniwan. Who was the backup? It was Chiajile got injured in the friendly in the match in Boston prior to that match in the US. That's why he ended up being a starter on that team. Yobo was already in his last legs. No, should not been playing.
Keshi qualified from the knockout stages. Right?
But that's not the point, man.
That's not the point at all. Football we won African Cup of Nations, but we're taking steps backward, which is the funny thing.
Everything you said, both of you said, is 100% true. But here's also something else that's true. Keshi won AFCON. Keshi qualified for the World Cup. Keshi took them out of the qualifying rounds and into the second round, and they lost to the team that won the World Cup.
They didn't win the World Cup, bro. They didn't win the World Cup.
We lost to France, right?
Yeah, they lost in semifinals.
Germany won the World Cup. Yeah, Germany won. Sorry. So he essentially got the job done.
He did, but guess what?
That's the thing about Keshi.
If not for corruption, we could have done better. In essence, there was more to be done and couldn't be done because of Keshi. On top of all that, guess what happened? Here's Keshi's legacy. A lot of people don't talk about it. Yes, we won AFCON 2013, but we didn't qualify for the next one as defending champions. Didn't qualify for the one after that. And that was a direct result of the mess that Keshi left us in when he left the national team, because we were having players that had no business in that team playing qualifiers for 2015.
No, but
absolutely.
That's what it was.
We
fired Keshi in the middle of that qualifying series, brought in Samson Siasia, and Siasia had good results, but we couldn't overcome.
But guys, here's what's not fair. You can't say a man was successful. He left the team, and the reason wait a second. And the reason why we weren't successful moving forward, even though you brought in a new coach that could have picked his own squad, right? You're still blaming the guy that left.
No, we didn't bring in a new coach. We brought Keshi back. He started the qualifiers in 2015. We fired his ass.
We fired Keshi, and then we brought in a Siasia, right? Siasia came in and took over the helm.
We had Keshi to start the qualifying series. Because of poor result or argument with the NFF, Keshi got relieved of his duties while we were having poor results.
I'm not defending Keshi.
Not only was it for the AFCON qualifier, we also almost lost our first match in the World Cup qualifier right after being champions to guess who? Guess who? Kenya. Kenya had never scored a single goal against Nigeria in Nigeria, and they scored two that day. We were down 2-0, and we came back and tied the match.
Kenya.
Our first match as defending champions. So we almost for 2018 for the World Cup qualifiers, we started out in a very precarious situation because the guy, understand, and then. Oh, that was for the, and then make it to the Nations Cup the next year because of all that maga and Ruru that he was doing.
Yeah.
So yes,
and I think
Keshi gets credit. You can't take the credit. He took Angola.
I'm not going to give him credit. And what I will do is say the federation also had a part to play. Keep in mind. Wait. Yeah,
there's more than one thing.
That's my point, though. In that when Keshi left, was the federation owing him money? Yes.
Of course, the answer is yes. Now we know the answer. They owe
when Keshi left, did he have issues with his contract? Yes. Was it not the 2014 World Cup that Keshi took them to, where at the end of the day, Jonathan Goodluck had to fly a plane of cash out there to pay players?
Yep.
Yes. So I don't think
was that Ghana.
That was us. That happened to us. They were trying to find ways to get them money.
They happened to Ghana.
They happened to Ghana too. Right? So I look at Keshi and I'm like, look, they fired him. They brought in Jonathan Raw after a while, after firing a couple of coaches. Jonathan Raw, they gave him more resources. He didn't accomplish what Keshi accomplished. right? So when you really look at, and then Pissarro, let me not even get started with that guy. That he's just, I don't even know what to call Pissarro at this point. No one even knows what he's doing. What's Pissarro doing?
Who knows? But it's too early. It's too early to make any determinations anyway with that guy. But let's.
No, all I had to see was that Portugal game. That was it. That's all I needed to see.
Yeah, I think some of it too had to do with the players, man. The players, there was no motivation. They didn't play. I mean, we had guys that are not our best players. It's just too many things. One thing I'll say about Pissarro is I can't really say anything about him until we see. I mean, he's done what he's supposed to do in qualifiers, albeit against lower seeded teams, but all friendlies lost qualifiers won. I mean, but if you're going to say that, you have to give him credit for winning every qualifier. Matches actually count.
Yeah, I don't see a methodology. I don't see a strategy.
I actually do.
What's his strategy?
I actually see a plan. He's trying to build an offensive team, and we look more offensive than we did in the last days of Gennett Raw, and which is one of the reasons why Raw got fired, because it just looked like we didn't have a pattern and we were too conservative. The problem with that, trying to switch that, is also not having all the players available at his disposal for the friendly matches. And every single friendly match he's taken over, he's been playing with one hand tied behind his back and trying to establish a rhythm. He hasn't had NDG, who is, whatever, I don't know his form now. Osihmen, number one. Even Lukman hasn't been available. I mean, come on. If you look at Chukwueze, there's a whole bunch of players of the ilk that will start are not playing. But even when you look at Dessers has been the guy that's been playing almost every friendly. Dessers has actually looked kind of all right as a lone striker when he's played. It's just too much. In that Portugal friendly, Portugal is on one level. They're going to the World Cup. You're asking guys that are disappointed and not going, trying to go on vacation, not get injured, and so on and so forth. I look at that match as just guys didn't even want to be there, Things, I can't judge him until we start seeing real matches. You have to give the man time to actually establish what he has to do. I'm not saying he's the man for the job, but I'm not going to say anything bad about him quite yet. Brothers, I do have to leave.
Yep.
All right, sir. Zoo, before we go, let me get your thoughts on Pissarro.
I think I agree with my brother, Mr. Okoro here, which what he's going to do.
Yeah. I'm not buying his brand though. I've seen all the friendlies I've seen. I'm telling you, I think this is another cash in the hand, sailing off to the sunset coach that's just come in. He's going to get paid a lot of money. His salary is guaranteed. The NFF can't fire him right now because they have to pay.
Where's this coach from? Is he Nigerian?
It's Portuguese.
No, it's Portuguese.
Portuguese. And I just think it's another mistake with another foreign coach that we're going to end up giving a free golden parachute at the end of this whole experiment.
It's with every country. It's the same thing happened to Jamaica. They brought in all these overseas coaches and pay them a bunch of money. They don't perform and they still got to pay them and cut them loose.
Yeah. Listen, they just paid John Roar. They were forced to pay him because his salary was guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, anyways, guys, listen, we're live every Friday. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
Check us out every Friday. We'll be live and talking about different topics. Thanks again. And hey, Sportdev, all the
Mike,
best.
good insight, man. Nice to meet you guys.
Yes, sir. Chris, Zub, Rain.
Very
nice talking to you, gentlemen.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.